Just making sure everything works. Okay, I think we are live on my end.
Yeah, give me just a sec. I think you'll want to make sure you've got our Lorebeards hashtag pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we are just about set.
Cool.
All right. Give just a sec. Water. And then we will be ready to go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lorebeards. I think this might... Is this episode 20 or was last episode 20?
This is episode 20.
Oh, man. We made it. Another another threshold somehow, some way. Well, that's excellent. But we hope you're all doing well. This Sunday, we've got a number of interesting things to talk about. Some cool little topics here and there. But first things first, of course, just kind of check in with everybody. Granted, it's only been a few days since the last episode. But Nathan, how you been?
Good. A little bit tired. Being just like super busy. Someone got in contact with me that they were selling off their unpainted Warhammer army, and it's 120 bloodletters, like 20 juggernauts. It's an army. It's a demon army of core, and all on glorious square bases. So I've been sorting that out, doing repairs, and just thinking, God, why did I agree to this? But it's cool. It's a nice army.
I need to get around to selling all those high elves that I've got locked in a cabinet.
Don't sell those. Why?
They're garbage as far as I'm concerned. Why would I keep them? They're all just like locked in a cabinet.
But rare.
Yeah, but I don't like high elves. I have no desire to keep them.
They're a fun army though. I quite like them in 8th.
They were all right in 8th, but most of the models are from like 6. Back when high elves were just like absolute garbage. Like they were just absolute ass.
Fair.
But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to. Plus, like a lot of them are like in like most of it would be bits. I think very few of them are like still intact and everything. But because they've just been sitting in there for like a decade. But I myself am doing well. I'm certainly doing better than I was the other day. I have learned a valuable lesson that as much as I don't want to, I really need to be taking it as easy as I can, because I had like a super stressful day the other day, and man, my ulcer flared up so bad. It was a miserable few days. So the last few days I've literally done as little as possible, and have rested as much as possible. Like I've read some books and played like a tiny bit of like Breath of the Wild and haven't touched anything else, and I've been feeling much better. So that was kind of a good wake up call of like I should probably not jump back into everything until I am like actually 100% healed up from this. But hopefully this week will be better than last week. But we're certainly going to start it off on a good note. So with that pretty much out of the way, let's go ahead and check out our Lorebeard submissions for Tale of Two Gamers today.
Yeah.
Just going to refresh the page real quick, knock it to latest, and we'll just go down the list. All right, so first up from Florian Noratio, we've got Chronomatic Cogs. And he made it Nurgle themed, so it's all rusted and gross.
That's pretty cool. Rust.
Those look absolutely excellent.
Yeah. That is really, really nice.
Yeah, the mucus slime part turned out very, very nice. It's very wet looking.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Rust looks really good too. Yeah, it looks great.
Mm.
That's a really good endless spell. I don't know how well it works in a Nurgle army. Like, I imagine it's decent, but I haven't gotten to play against the new Nurgle yet, so I have no idea how they work. Hopefully I'll get to play against them soon. Next up, we've got Rowan the Accused coming back in with some Tau Crisis suits.
That's a lot of suits, jeez.
He has so many... Rowan has so many minis.
He does.
Because every week he has, like, new stuff.
He's got a fucking... because he's my mod for my Discord and my YouTube. He's got a fucking Manta and everything, man. It's impressive.
Well, and they look absolutely fantastic, too. I wish I had a painted army.
Farsight Enclaves for Tau just looks so cool. Because the red and the grey, just they match up so well.
Yeah, looks awesome, especially with like the green little dots on like the eyes and next to the guns and stuff, and then he's got like large gold buttons on the or whatever those are on the jetpacks. Like they just look great.
Mm.
And the bases are like really interesting without being overloaded. Like they just look really natural.
Barbed wire is nice though.
It's very nice. Very crispy. Let's see. And then Champion of Corn is showing us the first 2 minis he ever painted, which he has named Greg and Jeffrey.
Hey, bloodletters.
Oh, man. These look very similar, I think, to most people's first painted minis when you're like, I just want color on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still have my first minis. I'd have to go look. I know they're hideous, but I think I have them lurking around somewhere. The first minis I ever painted was 10 5th edition Lizardman Saurus, back when they were like really different looking, and like the main Lizardman color was green.
Mm. Mine were
Oh, go ahead.
Space Marines, Ultramarines, and they're currently locked in a vault. They will never see the light of day again.
Yeah, mine are when I would play tabletop, I would sometimes sub in those Saurus because I wouldn't have enough in like especially 7th edition when Saurus were actually pretty decent, and I'd be running like 40 or 50 of them.
Jeez.
But anyway, on to the next mini. We've got from Ray is an absolutely drop dead gorgeous Great Unclean one. It says it's their friend's work, but man, that is like really clean, gross work. Like it looks absolutely fantastic, but it's like, damn, that's clean.
I love Great Unclean ones. They're so cool.
Yeah, like that is a crisp paint job.
Yeah, I mean, look at the back with the folds and everything. That is so good.
Yep. I also really like. This is my favorite version of the new Great Unclean one, where he's got the sword and the flail.
Mm.
And it all just looks absolutely fantastic.
Mm.
I like, yeah. Someone in chat mentioned I do love the way he's holding him too. It's like somebody holding like a puppy that they just brought home for the first time. And then from Ray, once again, we have a work in progress of Alaris Custodians and a Sister of Silence. Ooh, that banner is looking, or that the cape is looking very, very nice on that Sister of Silence already.
Very clean. Very
looking
clean.
good. Looking absolutely good. Making progress. I always hate when capes have those little like raised designs. Like they look cool, but it's just like, great, now I gotta hope I can paint this without screwing up the rest of my model.
Yeah.
Which is rare.
Oh, I left my alerts on. Sorry. Eric, if you're watching, thank you for the follow.
Next up, oh boy, we got some square base Fantasy Saurus.
Yes.
So we've got some. So he says he's building a Southlands army. a Southlands army, but you're running Saurus? What is this? What kind of Southlands army runs Saurus?
That's cool. That's what, black scales with mixed with yellow? That's pretty.
Yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. I really love, like, the Saurus. I do want the Saurus minis to get new models, but these models I do still like them. I just hate building them.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's so convoluted, because, like, every arm is separate, and the head is separate, and the shield is separate, and it's just like, it's in so many parts. Why is it in so many parts?
It's a nice big block, though. Nice.
Curious, good block, 18.
Ranks of 6, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's really... I prefer ranks of 6, because it will give you, like... That's your maximum frontage against, like, most units.
Did your mic die?
Oh, did it?
Yeah, like you said, against most units, and then you went quiet.
Oh, okay. So against most units that have a 20mm base, the 4 Saurus perfectly match up to that. So this is how you maximize your frontage against most enemy units. So 6 is the optimal way to run them, unless you have some particular other scheme going on. But I would always run my Saurus or my Temple Guard 6 wide, unless I didn't have enough points to have a proper sized unit.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, looks great though. Oh, and he's also got a work in progress on unit of Cold One Riders. Oh, Cold One Riders. I love you in theory, but God, I hate their models. I hate them so much. They're so ugly.
The cold ones, just the actual mount, they're so thick, right? Like,
yeah, they're immensely thick, and granted, they're not as stupid looking as the prior editions, but they're still just... they're just I just need the Lizardmen to get, like, I think Skinks still look really, really good. Like, I think they've aged very well, but I think most of the Saurus sculpts could use new minis. I would not be upset.
I love the paint scheme. It is really nice because
it's like a really good desert theme.
So cool, so cool.
Curious what he's going to end up going with for the basing. But it does look very, very nice, and it's a very unique color scheme, but it fits really, really well. Just kind of like that deserty rustic yellow, then followed up with the black scales, and it looks really nice with the black and gold shields too.
Yeah,
looks great, man. Keep it up. I'm excited to see how that army progresses. Oh my God! Louis Wheatley sending in a goddamn Anvil of Doom. Oh, I love it.
Oh, there it is.
And he's using it as a Celestial Hurricanum for Cities of Sigmar. That is so great. That is vastly superior. Gosh, I miss Anvils of Doom so much.
That's so cool.
I hate that they don't exist in AOS in any way. Like, I keep waiting for them to, like, introduce, like, a super magma drop that has, like, an Anvil of Doom on its back, or just bring back the Anvil of Doom for the Dispossessed, but nope, still nothing. But, God, it's a great mini. I love that he just combined it all in one big base. Looks very nice.
Yeah.
Back before they invented the portable Anvil of Doom for Total War. And then from Florian Horatio again, we've got some endless spells. So we've got 2 of the Gloom Spite gets endless spells. We've got their Bad Moon endless spell and the Scuttle Cauldron, which the Scuttle Cauldron always makes me profoundly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't like inanimate objects with spider legs. I don't know what it is. I'm just not a fan. It's just I don't want them to be. I love that he uses the Goblin Green base color.
Yeah, it's classic, isn't it?
The true OG color that still works so nicely for goblins. I actually don't know what the Bad Moon endless spell does. Now that I think about it, like, I've never seen it used. I've seen the other 2, the Scuttle Tide and the Cauldron, because the Cauldron I think is just a buff spell for the wizards. But it's a really good buff spell. Like, I actually really like that one, because I think it's like, if it's on the battlefield next to your wizard knows all the spells from their particular lore of magic. Instead of just like the one they would normally know. It looks great.
Yeah, it's awesome. I use these as terrain mostly because they just fit so well with themed maps.
Yep, and then we got a last second entry by OK. You'll have to scroll back up to the top, of Orpheon Catacross. And God, it's a great paint job, but it's like, man, it's such a busy model. Like, yeah. I love it, but like, man, when GW starts releasing fucking dioramas as character models. Oh, it looks so good though. The shield in particular turned out really nice.
Yeah.
I love the edge highlighting on the shield.
So
and he also put in a lot of unique terrain, I think. I don't remember some of this terrain on his mini, but maybe it's just that the grass aspects are throwing me off, but it looks really nice. Like, it's not, it's got more of a like natural feel to it, because it's got that like felt grass, little rocks and stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Awesome, looks great. Well, thank you everyone for sending in your minis. We really appreciate it. Lots of really cool. That will be it for Tale of Two Gamers today. I would say, what should people be thinking about for next week if they got a pile to pull from? Oh, we said War Beasts, so let's just keep that for next week. That way everyone has a full week on it. So War Beasts, creatures, is a focus if you need a focus, but that is all good. So, with that out of the way, just a couple of little things before we get into some of the bigger subjects for today. For those who are interested or keeping up with AOS, the Fire Slayers and Idnet Deepkin are finally out, and you have the ability to go just pick them up and purchase them from your local hobby store. I got my copies about 2 days ago. I've had time to sit down and read some of the lore. I haven't been able to read every single page, and I've read a lot of the War Scrolls and stuff. I'm actually pretty pleased with how those books came out so far. Like, the Fire Slayer book in particular both books seem way more balanced than the first two books. The first two books we got of the edition, being Stormcast Eternals and Auric Warclans, they're fun books, but they definitely still need to get hit with a Nerf bat. We're still having issues with the Stormcast Dragons being way too good, and the Warclans Maw Crusher is also still a bit oppressive. But the newer books, being the Maggotkin of Nurgle, which came out, I think, 2 or 3 months back now, and then Fire Slayers and Idneath seem to be in a really good place. Though I'm sure someone will find some crazy way to exploit some stuff, but I'm having hopes that 3rd edition is settling into being a balanced edition instead of being like a complete clusterfuck. Right now, it's definitely still a little struggling when it comes to like Cities of Sigmar and Stormcast. They're a little overtuned at the moment, but hopefully that'll get addressed here some point in the future. But the new books are super fun. The only thing that I was really disappointed with the Fire Slayer book is that Gotrek isn't mentioned at all in it, which made me really sad. Because I keep wanting Gotrek to be the god of fire, but it seems like they're not going that direction. There is a lot of hints that Grimnir is apparently, like, supposedly getting close to resurrecting. And there is also some really interesting mentions of the Grugni, of course, being back, the god of metal, has tried to unify all of the Dwarden into a single faction, which is something that we've talked about in the past, of thinking that was going to happen, but turns out that they a lot of the Fire Slayers were like, nah. Like, nope, no, thank you. We do not want to be combined with those other nerds. So there's kind of an interesting dynamic going on right now of Grudny being back, and a lot of the Dwarden just don't really seem to know how to feel about it. But I am excited to see where the future is going to go, and the Idneth Deepkin book is also very, very interesting, and I haven't had time to really dive into it too much yet, other than looking at the War Scrolls, because I got my ass kicked by an Idneth Deepkin player at the last tournament I was at. And I was like, all right, I got to know if the same bullshit that was done to me at the tournament can happen to me again. And the answer is no. I cannot be bullshitted as hard as I was bullshitted at that last tournament, where they were running an entire fucking army with 2-up freaking armor saves, which was just bullshit. It was bullshit. But thankfully, they cannot do that nearly as easy anymore. But I am really interested to see where they're going with all of that, and we are getting a lot of hints of some major narrative events where they've got, like, the Idneth Deepkin have some super souls, what they're called the Sithai, which may be returning at some point in the near future. They're currently regenerating. And then there's a lot of hints in the Fireslayer lore about not only that it seems like Grimnir is getting close to resurrecting, but ever since the big life storm that Ilario unleashed on the world, there is mention that underneath so the Fireslayer's like capital, like their big super city, is called Vostargi Mount, and this volcano, supposedly something super duper big and terrifying has woken up underneath it and is moving around, and the Fireslayers don't know what it is. And I really hope that has something to do with resurrected Grimnir, and it ends up being like a Magmadroth on cocaine or resurrected Volcatrix, and then we get a giant we get like a dwarf character riding a giant ancestral terrifying monster creature as the god of fire, and I can finally enjoy having a super mini, which is going to be great, because not having a god of fire bothers me. I just like it. I want a god of fire. But anyway, outside of that, the last few little bits about AOS is that Games Workshop seems to have sorted their printing issues when it comes to books, because they're moving much faster all of a sudden on new information. And that includes, well, outside of stuff like the entire Tyrannid book leaking online, which I'm sure Games Workshop is just thrilled about. That seems to be a 40k specific problem with the leaks right now.
It's so common, I think it's them at this point, because it happened with the Tau book previously, it happened with the Eldari book. It's like, look, just like put it out there and don't say it's a leak, you know, because at this point it looks too convenient that it's happening all the time. That or a playtester's gone rogue, which is very possible.
I think it's playtesters only because the Tyrannid thing is literally just the entire book.
Well, it happened the same to the Tau. The Tau thing
like,
happened exactly the same.
Yeah, I could the Tyrannid book's not even up for pre-order for like another couple weeks. So like I could never see GW doing that, because like there's a whole group of people that are going to be like, oh, well, I don't have to spend money now. Like, which is like, I don't. That's a little too piracy for old Sotek. But outside of that, there is some interesting stuff going on in AOS right now, due to something we got called a battle scroll, which for us, battle scrolls are kind of like rules updates for like the entire game. And normally what they've been in the past are like they come out and they adjust the points and like edit some of the rules and like do a little bit of a Q&A. This time they didn't do that, which was really disappointing. What they did instead is they introduced a new rule, which is kind of like a comp system, but it's like really, it feels like they're trying to introduce comp, which for anyone not aware, comp was a system, at least that I grew up with in fantasy, where because the game was not even remotely balanced, a lot of groups did their own comp systems where they would basically punish you in different ways from taking like really overpowered builds. So if you took like a friendly build, it would give you more points in a tournament than if you took a super hardcore competitive build that will get you like less points because, you know, it took way less effort to win with it. And GW kind of seems to be doing something similar, which is interesting. But their system right now, it's very minor because basically it's a system of if your opponent takes something that's like super strong and like basically everybody takes. So like a Stormcast player shows up and he has dragons, or someone's just playing one of like Auric player shows up and I think they have like a Maw Crusher or like Kragnos or something. Or no, maybe not Kragnos, but it's just like certain factions or certain units. And then you have a unit that's underplayed. So like Nighthawk is considered an underplayed army apparently. So like I get this benefit. If you have something that's considered weaker, so it's like a unit that's not taken very often, or it's an army that's not taken very often. So for instance, my Nighthawk, if my Nighthawk kill one of these units that's considered overpowered or taken too often, I get bonus victory points. But right now it's like pretty subtle because it's only... Actually, sorry, that's not correct. You can play anybody, and if as long as you don't kill one of the OP creatures with another OP creature, you get at least one victory point. But if you kill an OP creature with an underpowered faction, then you get 2 victory points. Which, like, it's a little something, but it's not a lot. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the game, and I would much rather them just come out and adjust the points or update some war scrolls, especially with those goddamn Sigmar dragons. Dude, their war scroll is like a fucking book. It is so stupid. And it does something in like every phase. Like you'll like, even in fantasy or 40k terms, I think everyone can recognize how stupid this is. Those dragons once per game get a free movement in the hero phase, or like the equivalent of the magic phase. So like they can move twice per turn. And like when I say move, I mean like a 12-inch flying move for free in a phase that you normally can't do movement. Like, why? Who thought that was okay? Anyway, though. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about very briefly for AOS is, of course, I am super duper excited because there's a new Nighthawk book on the way. Daughters of Cain are also getting their like 3rd book in like 2 years. But they're both coming with a new mini. For Nighthawk, we're actually getting a new unit as well, and we finally got some of the rules for the new character who I like to think is a player insert, which is the book character, the book ghost, and I'll pull him up here on my screen. But they revealed his rules today, or some of his rules yesterday, and he's hilarious. Because he has this system where you basically pick an enemy character in your first hero phase that you can see, and basically your guy's like, this person deserves to die, and I'm going to make it happen. And what that means is that every hero phase after that, you roll a dice, or sorry, every one of my hero phases, I would roll a dice, and if I get equal to or below the turn, I just deal 2d6 mortal wounds to that hero.
Fucking hell.
It has infinite range. I don't have to see them anymore after that part. Now, the thing is that if that hero dies, I have to wait until my next hero phase to pick a new character, and then the hero phase after that to start rolling again. But if you can get low rolls, like, you could just obliterate some stuff. And the most hilarious thing to me is that he gets to roll it again at the end of the game. So there's a very explicit rule where he's like, okay, he rolls at the start of your hero phase, and it's like, okay, it's turn 2, I roll a dice. If I get a 2 or a 1, I deal 2d6 mortal wounds, but a 3 up, I don't. Turn 3, I need a 3 or less. Turn 4, I need a 4 or less. Turn 5, I need a 5 or less. But then when the game ends, just as like a final fuck you, which I find hilarious, he gets to roll when the game ends. So when both players are like, okay, that's the end of the game, I go, not yet. I might get to kill your character just to be like, get out of here. Which I think that's just hilarious. I love that.
Who the fuck balanced this?
Well, it's the sad thing is that like Nighthawks need it to kill things like Archaon or Maw Crushers or Kragnos. Like, we can't kill those things without something this absurd. But if he dies, then the ability immediately goes away, and he's a Nighthawk character, so odds are he'll be very easy to snipe. Because shooting in this game is like super broken right now.
But can't you just like hide him behind terrain and just like?
Well, you could, except a lot of units in the game that are shooting units, do not need line of sight to shoot. So like, Lumineth Realm Lords don't need line of sight and have like a 36-inch range and mortal wound on 6s to hit.
What?
And there's like other things in the game that don't like. There's a lot of shooting that just doesn't need line of sight, or it's a unit that can like teleport in the movement phase and just end up outside of 9 inches and shoot you anyway from like avoiding getting shot through line of sight is basically worthless in 3rd edition unless you're fighting like really specific armies, which I hate that. I hate it because it feels like there's no counter to shooting. And like the worst penalty you can do is a -1 to hit, and getting a -1 to hit is really hard because it's like, oh, if I have a character with a certain amount of wounds standing next to a unit, they'll get -1 to hit, but most things in the game could very easily get +1 to hit, if not +2, so they'll not only like nullify my -1, but still get a +1. And it's bullshit. It's terrible. Like, I honestly think shooting is the absolute worst thing in the game right now. But anyway, and you could see it. Like, you go to a tournament and like a ton of the top tables are just like shooty spam. Which to me says there's a problem. Like, there's no, very few armies are balanced. Like, they're either like pure melee or pure range, and there's very little overlap. But anyway, so that's AOS right now. Things are interesting at the moment, and we're so close to, I think, the game feeling very nicely balanced. I think it really just revolves around them introducing some point changes for a few things, and probably tweaking the Stormcast book a bit rules-wise, but overall it feels very nice. And I'm really hoping they introduced a really cool rule in the Fyreslayers book called Retinues. It's not a new rule, but Fyreslayers have it very standardized, which is a system where if you have infantry characters who don't have a lot of wounds, they can have a unit, a nearby unit, be their bodyguard. So the unit will protect them and block wounds for them on a 3+. So it's not like perfect Lookout Sir, but it is a Lookout Sir that is actually good. And I'm really hoping that's just going to be like standard in most books going forward. Like, Inet Deepkin don't have that, but the only reason Inet Deepkin don't have that is because they literally have an army rule that says you can only shoot the nearest Inet Deepkin model. It's like just a faction rule, which makes them hilariously overpowered against shooting armies. Which is why Inet Deepkin like look at the shooting meta and they're like, that's cute. Because they're like, I'll just put my character that's basically invincible in front because you have to shoot them. But most of us can't do that. Anyway, though, that's it for AOS for today. So we are on to the patch. So everyone rejoice, because after copious amounts of bitching everywhere, we finally have an announcement of a very major patch that's not just about stability, but actually addressing a lot of the problems in the game. I'm going to pull mine up on screen here. So we have the first major patch for Total War Warhammer 3, which is patch 1.1. And we're going to talk about it today. It's going to eat up a lot of today. So Nathan, why don't you kind of take us in on how you want to tackle this?
All right. First up, and this is just me nitpicking, I really hate them calling us commanders now when it goes with this. It just feels like a mobile game. It's like
commanders.
Yeah, good day, commanders. It's like, no.
It's just a little cringe. But I would never have noticed if you didn't say that, because I just don't read the forward. Like, I always just skip down to where there's like the actual notes.
It's just one of those things that I find like grating.
Whatever, it's fine. I mean, it's, you got to remember. I think they we're literally, this is the new PR team that like just started.
Yeah. Oh,
so they're just trying new things.
Let me just pop out the chat 1 second.
Commander. All right, so we're just gonna kind of work our way down the list instead of just talking randomly about it. That way we stay a little bit organized.
Yeah.
So in the forward, they basically just come right out and say that there's no news on Immortal Empires or Blood Pact yet, and they will have news once they're ready to talk about it, which is expected and fine. And they also kind of basically mean that they also do kind of mention that because they're focused right now more on getting the water out of the boat, so to speak, those things have maybe been just delayed a little bit. But I don't think that's a huge issue. I think getting out these patch notes is this patch is far more important than either the Blood Pact or Immortal Empires right now.
My 2 cents here is they shouldn't have mentioned it, because it just caused a little bit more problems, because people started complaining. Like, just don't mention Immortal Empires, don't mention Blood Pact, don't mention anything. Just go straight in.
It's a lose-lose. I mean, like, if they hadn't mentioned it, there was going to be a loud audience that's going to be like, well, why didn't you talk about it? And then they do mention it, there's going to be a large people that says, well, that's not the news I wanted to hear. Yeah. I honestly do think it's better to be transparent and just address it and be like, hey, they're not in this patch, and, like, we'll let you know when they're ready. I think that's fine.
Yeah. 1 second. I forgot to put my display capture back on. There we go.
All right. You want to take us to the next point, Realm of Chaos?
Yeah, so they're introducing a few fixes to Realms of Chaos. Some of them are decent. The thing is, like, when it comes to it, look, you know, they're reducing the strength of the negative realm traits by 50%, well, roughly, which is pretty good. Demon legendary lords will no longer be burdened by negative effects of their patron god. Should have been there since vanilla.
I actually kind of liked that one. To me, that didn't feel like a necessary change, just because I could because gods are dicks. but I can understand why people felt that way. But that one almost kind of surprised me, because it's like, I guess, but like I didn't really see an issue with it.
It just makes no sense if like your Korgath, who is favored by Nurgle, and you're getting negative traits because you're your daddy's favorite boy, you know.
I guess, but like I don't know. The gods are always capricious, and like their favors changing. I could see them being like, you're here to literally kill my gardener. Like, not cool with that. Who's gonna tend to my garden, Kugoth? But anyway, continue on.
Traits gained in the Realm of Chaos will now be removed when a legendary lord completes a survival battle within that realm. That's cool. That I guess means that if you just go into farm through the Realm of Sinesh just to get the money, you'll still have the trait, but you'll have to remove it the old-fashioned way, which I guess makes sense. This one's actually pretty good. When a player intercepts AI Lord at the Forge of Souls, their souls will now be lost, forcing them to restart their collection. That buys you a bit more time. I think that's good. No word on a proper intercept just yet, though, which is something that we desperately need. But other than that, I think that's a good change, because at least it allows for more of a sandbox thing. Still would have preferred a toggle, but I'll take what I can get at this point.
Yeah, that basically makes it like the Vortex campaign, in the sense that you can easily just ignore the Souls race now, and then when like a faction's about to do the final battle, just show up, beat them, and they literally have to start all over.
Yeah, but you still need without a proper intercept mechanic, it's going to be a bit of a strange thing, because they can just sneak through still.
Well, hopefully they can add some kind of like they did for the Vortex campaign, where it kind of shows up like a quest battle. But like worst case scenario, you can just kind of keep an eye on it for a bit.
Yeah. The protection building chain now can be used to prevent rifts from spawning in the province in which they're built. This is freaking great, and this should have been in vanilla from the beginning. This makes me want to play a little bit more. This makes me want to get back.
That's an awesome change. Yeah. That's a fantastic change, regardless of how you play the game.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're like me and you enjoy the Chaos campaign, it's still a fantastic change, because it helps like control where the risks are going to be. So like now I can dedicate, if I have a province that's like well protected in my empire from like the AI walking to it, I don't have to be forced to build like full garrisons in them anymore in the event that like demons spawn.
Yeah.
I could just build a single protection building in that province, and then dedicate the rest of it to like finances.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that wants to just conquer the map, literally just make sure you've got one of these in every province, and like life is good.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very useful. And lastly, the rewards from gaining souls have been improved by providing additional bonuses for a limited period of time. We haven't seen that just yet, because obviously they're just giving some basic info. But some nice rewards will be good. Give us some incentive to go and actually fight the survival battle, or resolve the survival battle.
Yeah, and I think, especially I think these are probably the most significant actual changes. Like as far as like the overall thing for me, like the Growing Chaos is the big takeaway of like it just feels like everything's going to be a lot smoother, especially in the sense that, okay, the negative traits aren't as bad. Good. You don't even get any negative traits as long as you win the realm, which I think actually makes losing the realm even more of like an interesting risk, because if you lose, like, not only did you miss out on the soul for that run, but you also have to then deal with these negative traits for a little bit, which is which I think is good. Like, that just adds like a nice extra punch to it. And then being able to like just slap the AI down if they manage to beat you in the race, also great. And but the protection building, I think, is easily the best thing.
Yeah.
Great. Then we've got the supply line bug being fixed. Neat. Great. Awesome.
I mean, they did kind of claim that it was fixed in vanilla. Just saying.
Well, I'm not worried about it. The point is, it hopefully is fixed now, and that's good. Infantry Responsiveness. This one's actually really good. I did not know about this until I saw a video from, I think, Zerkovich on it, which is that the Warhammer 3 base build has kind of a weird thing where when you like click on a unit and you tell them to do something, especially like turn around, the unit would take way longer to do it in Warhammer 3 than it would in the prior two games. Because for some reason, like, there's like, if you play the game right now, there's like a weird delay whenever you tell a unit to do anything. Yeah. Which is why a lot of people are getting that weird feeling of like clicking on a unit and telling them to flee from combat, and then they just kind of don't. And you're like, what is happening? Or you're like spamming the click to actually get them to flee. The reason that's happening is because, for whatever reason, the units in Warhammer 3 have a delayed response time. So, like, if you click on an order, there's like an almost full second before they'll start doing it, and they also tend to like trickle, as opposed to the entire unit being like immediately follows the order and moves together. Yeah. Right now, it's more of a like delay, and then they kind of like move in a wave. So I think fixing it to where it's like the Warhammer 2 level is much preferred. Like, I don't know if that was intentional for like a particular feel, or if it just kind of like was something that was in there and just sort of slipped through. But I definitely think having it consistent with the prior two games and what we've gotten used to is the right decision. And then last is, well, not last, but next is factions. I think this is more like multiplayer than anything, but of course it probably will have a little bit of an impact on single player. Yeah. But we don't have any like specific info in this. They're basically just saying like ogres are getting debuffed, Cathay is getting buffed, Kislev is getting slightly buffed, Nurgle is getting slightly buffed, and then Slanesh and Khorne aren't going to do anything yet.
Well, with Cathay, they're kind of radically changing domination mode, because they're now increasing the size of all starting armies in domination. So everything that people have played, now this is going to be like a new version of it. So people are going to get thrown off. The thing is, yeah, Cathay is an underperformer, but that's because Harmony is their main thing. So when creating domination mode, they should have taken into account that Harmony was going to be a big factor when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that, like, you know, it's one of those things where you just have to have people playing to really get a good feel on like what is happening and be able to go, okay, what do we do to fix this? But I've been watching a ton of multiplayer tournaments. Like pretty much every time Turn does a tournament, I'm watching. And something that I've seen consistently said by everyone playing or streaming it has been like, the mode is fun, but the starting armies are too small. Like no matter what faction you're playing, it just doesn't feel that great.
Yeah.
Because the starting armies are so small, it's just kind of more of like a skirmish, as opposed to feeling like an actual battle. So I think taking the points that they have for domination mode and making it a better split so that the starting armies are larger. I don't know exactly what the split's going to be, because right now it's more, I think it's like 40-60. So maybe having it like 50-50. Or 60-40 for your starting army, I think it's going to do a lot better as far as like, okay, while you're waiting for those objectives to open, because the objectives take like about, I think it's like 2 minutes to open, that allows you to have much more of an actual battle with limited reinforcements coming in.
Yeah.
As opposed to right now, it's more like a skirmish where like you're kind of poking at each other, but you also need to like not be too fighty so that you can still have stuff to like grab objectives. You can actually like start getting summons and everything. So I think it's a good change. But I am looking forward to when we get specific patch notes. I'm really curious what they're going to do for Cathay overall. Because I imagine it's not just going to be like the domination thing. I imagine they're also going to get some pretty significant, because they're way behind on the looking at the matchmaking system. So I imagine they're going to get some pretty significant buffs. Oh yeah, someone pointed out like Tzeentch isn't even on the bullet points. That's really funny, actually.
They forgot Tzeentch.
That's fine. I would be shocked if Tzeentch is not getting a nerf to his barrier system. Like his barrier system is way, like even in single player I find it annoying to go up against, much less multiplayer. So I imagine they've got to be tuning that down a little bit. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be, like, hard. Like, I don't think the amount needs to go down or anything, but, like, maybe it takes longer to recharge, or maybe, like, it's less good. Like, I don't know. But, like, they gotta do something to it. I think it's just too strong right now.
I think a bit more context would be useful, because, like, if you go to Nurgle, they say here, we are also concerned that the slowness of most Nurgle units makes them vulnerable to larger armies with ranged firepower. It's like, well, yeah, it's a slow army.
Honestly, what I think they should do, so here's something I think is really interesting, and I'm curious if you agree with this. I'm gonna minimize this so I can see our faces for a minute. So my thing with Nurgle, that I think is really, really hurting him, and I don't think this affects most armies, but with Nurgle I think it's very poignant, is that the biggest difference, in my opinion, the absolute most major difference between tabletop and Total War is that the shooting is real time. So it's so much more devastating than it ever was in tabletop. And so like when you have an army like Nurgle that's really slow, in tabletop that wasn't a really big deal, because like sure you were slow, but they could only shoot at you, you know, at most 6 times. It's probably less than that, because once you got into combat you couldn't be shot at. In this game that's not the case. So honestly, what I think just needs to happen for Nurgle is I think they should just upgrade Cloud of Flies to where it gives you like significant melee missile resistance.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, all Nurgle units with Cloud of Flies get 30% missile resist. There, done. Because I think that's really Nurgle's only problem. I don't think like his slowness is a big deal as far as being outmaneuvered. I think his slowness is a problem that he's getting the shit shot out of him before he can get into combat.
Yeah.
And also he has no anti-large, which is weird. Like literally nothing. Like just, Jesus, pick a unit and give it anti-large.
Yeah, literally Chaos Warriors with halberds. That's all they need.
Yeah, or just like I don't care where it goes. It just needs to be somewhere. It's weird having like a critical mechanic like that just not existing. All right, so bug fixes. Just gonna pop over these real quick. A lot of them are actually to do with a couple of them to do with the prologue, but they are trying to fix the Alt Tab crash fix, which is actually going to You should have its availability next week, according to this. So this week, because this is part of the, I think, the patch 0.8.6 or something like that. So that's actually the patch that'll be coming out this upcoming week. They also fixed some Slanesh stuff. Be'lakor, they fixed an error, which, like, great, because, like, anybody uses Be'lakor. Some crash fixes. I really like this change. I really, really like this change. It's considered a bug fix, but I love this. Is that, because it's a bug fix because this is how it should be working, but I'm really glad to see this, is that if you get a corrupted by trait, so for anyone that's not aware, a corrupted by trait is like, if you're in an area with too much chaos corruption, you'll get a trait that's like corrupted by Tzeentch or whatever. It'll now get removed, as it should, when you're hanging out in any province that has like low corruption or high uncorrupted. Because right now, if you get those traits, it's basically permanent. And those traits are like, they're a bitch. Like, they're like, some of them are not awful because they give you like a buff and a debuff. So it's like, oh, you generate Skaven corruption, maybe your leadership is worse, but you like this other stat goes up. So they're not the worst thing. But it's good to see that fix come back in.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's all right.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, probably the most exciting announcement, the mod workshop's coming out.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's going to help out a lot. I've already been speaking to a bunch of modders directly who've got great ideas, who've got great plans, who are going to fix up some very obvious issues with, say, Slanesh, very obvious issues with Nurgle. This is something that we've been waiting for a while, because while I know a lot of people aren't too keen on mods and so on, let's be honest, longevity for the game was held because of mods for Warhammer 2.
Yeah. Mods are a critical part. Like, even if you don't use them, like, it's silly to suggest that they're not a critical part of the game's infrastructure and lifeline.
Yeah.
So that coming out, because it just opens up, like, you go from, oh, I could put a good amount of hours into this campaign to I can literally now put an infinite number of hours because I can literally change how all of this stuff works.
Yeah.
So that's, of course, super duper exciting. And then they briefly talk about what's coming after 1.1, which is just that they're basically going to be working on putting out a couple more patches to fix some things. And then, of course, do a lot of... okay, so this is actually very exciting news. Is that they are officially announcing that they're going to be doing major patch updates between all of the key DLC releases. Which they did not do in the Warhammer 2. That is great news. I don't care who you are. That is awesome news.
In a few ways, yes. In a few ways, it raises some questions. Because obviously, my concern is obviously DLC has been, for the end of Warhammer 2, was quite distant. So does this mean that we're going to have that same distance between DLC? The fact is also, didn't they say we're aiming to have patches in between DLC? Aiming means nothing to me. Aiming is a British term to say, oh, maybe. So, like, I'm aiming to quit smoking. I'm aiming to do this. I need confirmation. Aiming means nothing. It's a British term. It means nothing.
The wording is, we're looking to raise our game above Warhammer 2 by introducing major patch updates between our key DLC releases, allowing us to address bugs, balance concerns, and other adjustments on quicker cadence of previous games. All of this is aimed at establishing a more reliable cadence of releases once we've established a strong foundation for the game in its future.
I don't know.
To me, it doesn't really matter. Like, if they come out and they're like, hey, there's going to be a balance patch between DLC 1 and 2 because they're like 2-3 months apart, so we're going to slide a balance patch in there. But between DLC 2 and 3, there won't be one because there's like not enough time to fit a balance patch. Okay, grind. What do I care? That's fine.
As long as everything comes out in a quick manner, because the problem is that sometimes DLC does come out and breaks some other stuff, and it can get a little frustrating. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's just the nature of like the size of the damn thing. Be a lot easier if the game was a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But I am excited that they're at least talking about it as like a viable option that is planned to be happening. Because in Warhammer 2, it wasn't even like, oh, we might put out a patch. It was, no, patches come out with content updates, which was a horrible system. I hated it.
Yeah.
Because it made those long gaps really bad, because not only were we like, oh, you know, where's the next content thing, which is whatever, but it meant that when there was like a really problematic bug or something, it just wouldn't get fixed. I don't expect them to put a patch between every single content update, but I do expect them to hopefully be like, oh, hey, our DLC caused a major bug here, or this unit we put in is really overpowered or really underpowered. Here's a patch. And that's great. That's awesome. Because it practically was like a company policy during Warhammer 2. Do not update the game outside of major releases. And I think that really hurt the game. Not like awfully, but it could be like just like ugh sometimes, where you just have to be like, all right, there's this thing you just can't do or can't use until the next DLC comes out in 6 months.
Yeah.
All right, and then beyond that, they talk a little bit about the roadmap, and say that, hey, it'll get here when it gets here, especially because they're kind of more in reaction time at the moment, trying to get Warhammer 3 to be in a good place. And then that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, it all sounds quite exciting and so on. Obviously, it's a little bit different because there's a few things, right? And it's I'm not saying anything bad against Creative Assembly, but some of these patches could have been, some of these bug fixes could have been fixed with a hotfix. Because I know some modders who fixed it within a few hours, and obviously it's a bit different for Creative Assembly because it needs to go.
No, that's never a fair comparison.
Yes,
never a fair comparison.
Yes, but the fact is, this is a month after. This is a month after. We're not going to get this patch until what did they say in the last blog, like early April. That's a month and a half. That's a long time, man. That's a long time. And my concern is literally just that. It is a long distance. Like, it's just...
I'm not bothered by it. I don't know. For me at least, like in terms of like game development, especially with like a pretty substantial amount of fixes, which this has in it, and we don't know what all's in the patch. Like, these are literally just large bullet points. There's going to be a significant increase in what's in it once we get the actual nitty-gritty notes.
Yeah.
Like to me, it if anything, it feels fast.
Yeah.
For the site. Now, I'm not disagreeing in the sense that like if they wanted to do like a small hotfix, maybe they could have got some of this out like earlier. But I don't have an issue with our current timetable.
No, it's just a month and a half is a long time for me, at least. You know, and I just feel it because maybe, and this is just me thinking of it, maybe it's just. We're getting reaction now and information now, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But why did we have to all get angry and post in the forums and post in the Reddits to get a reaction?
I don't think we needed to. Like, I don't actually think that's what led to this. Like, I think it's just a matter of they trying to get sorted and get into a position where they go, okay, this is what we're going to be doing and this is our plan to go forward. And got that to us when they were ready to talk about it. I honestly do not think that CA ever makes like a grand move due to outrage. Like, I think like constructive posts and like pointing out like, hey, this is a problem, like people do on Reddit and the forums and stuff, that definitely helps them be like, okay, we need to focus here. But I don't think like the idea of being like, like, you know, slamming on keyboard, I don't think that ever does anything.
I mean, it's proven to do stuff because if we look at the Sisters of Silence, what? The Silence and the Fury. No, fuck me.
Twilight?
Sisters of Twilight. Why was I thinking of those things, right? Like, that only got fixed because the community got loud. If not, Creative Assembly would have just been, that's done. Let's shelve it, and that's it.
Yeah, but I think there's a notable difference, I think, between what's going on these days and like being loud. Um, of that, I feel that things lately have been very um hostile in a lot of places. Almost to kind of a grotesque extent. And it's like I don't think that helps at all, especially like I mean, if you want to get like honestly, my opinion, like to be frank, I think the reason the Sister of the Twilight or the Twilight and the Twisted in the Twilight, that's what it is, got fixed like as fast as it did, and is literally because like YouTubers like Mandalore make videos on it and go, hey, this is a problem, fix these problems, and literally those are the problems that got fixed. I don't think it was people like ranting and raving on the forums. I think it's literally content creators being like, hey, this is a problem. You should do this instead. And CA going, oh, yeah, we could probably do that.
Well, the issue is that you say that, yeah. And yeah, that's fine. You get a big YouTuber like Mandalore and he complains and then, yeah, and all that. There's issues that were highlighted prior, and that was like for example, Legends talked about it, and so it was like, well, this is an issue I highlighted in early access. Nothing. It's becoming more vocal now because obviously a lot of people are just saying, well, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's just a thing it's happening a lot, and it's just kind of tiring, man. Like, I just want things to get fixed up as soon as possible. And obviously, yes, I know this does take time, but you've seen the player numbers, man. You've seen the player numbers. It's...
Well, yeah, I have, but I mean, I just don't think that's something worth worrying about right now. Like maybe when, like this is just kind of one of those games that has to build steam. It's never been their strong suit to release something that like hits the ground running, and like makes like a really good, ascension up. Usually we hit the ground and there's like a spike right at the beginning because everyone's super excited, and then it's basically nobody except the hardcore people.
Yeah.
And then the game builds up steam progressively, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, no.
I think expecting anything but that, you're just screwing yourself. Like, I think that's just ridiculous expectations at this point.
Fair, but like, say for example, look, and I say this out of love for Creative Assembly and so on, because I think they're good people and all that, and the games, if I didn't like them, I wouldn't be covering them. Every Total War game launches like crap, and I think that it shouldn't happen, right? And a lot of people will use like the whole thing about, oh yeah, the pandemic and so on, which could have been a factor. But for loads of other Total War games that were pre-pandemic, it's happened the same thing. Is this not the point where games should be like tested enough to make sure that these things aren't happening? And I get it, yeah, release times and having to release by the end of the fiscal year so they can actually justify the next marketing budget for whatever the fuck they might be working on next and all that. That's all cool. I worked in marketing. I know what that means. But I'm just kind of tired of shitty releases, man. I am tired of shitty releases.
I mean, my counter to that would be, if you would want perfect releases, we would have to let them have the time and to make perfect releases, which they just don't. Creative Assembly reaches a major game literally every year.
Maybe that should stop.
Well, maybe it should, but like, that's kind of just, I just don't really see that as something that like is even, I don't even know if that's within their control at a certain extent. Like, when you think about like how Sega mixes into everything and how like whatever their internal structure is and who's calling the shots on stuff, like that's such a high reaching up there thing, that it to me is just it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if it really bothers you to such an extent, like I feel like at that point you're kind of needing to be more in an area of like, okay, I'm just not gonna touch these games when they come out and check them out like 6 months later. Which is, I mean, that's a valid thing to do. I mean, there's a lot of gaming companies that do that. There are plenty of games, like, it's not like Creative Assembly, like, it is far, far more rare right now for a game studio to release a game that is great at launch than the other way. Like, the vast majority of games are not great at launch.
And that's a fucking flawed system. Yes, again, we can take the pandemic into account and all that because, yes, I work in healthcare.
Yeah, but
that's
an industry problem. That's not a CA problem. That's an industry-wide problem.
And that's the issue because people seem to allow it. That's why we had that issue with Cyberpunk. That's why we have the issue with pretty much anything else that drops. And it becomes a massive issue. But the fact of the matter is you'd expect to be better. Like, people take time off to play these games because they're excited. You know, they've got loads of people hyping them up and so on. I took fucking time off from my fucking job. I took a sabbatical so I could do like my videos and stuff like that. That's unfucking paid leave, man. That's unfucking paid leave. And I thought things were going to go well, and then shit goes down. It tires me, man.
Listen, I get that. But, like, we're kind of in that thing where, like, it's a pattern, and don't get me wrong, it's a shitty pattern, but, like, the only way that would change is you'd have to have a industry-wide movement of consumers, like, not pre-ordering, not buying games until they're, like, done, and a number of games are gonna die to make a point of people being like, I'm not gonna play this. But, like, the thing is that, like, I understand your frustration, but, like, I feel that it's just kind of like it's an understandable thing to be frustrated about, but I also feel like, speaking as someone that has anxiety and just has to deal with, I think we both do, but, like, you know, you can't worry about things that you can't control, and this is just one of those things that you can't control. Because, like, someone like me, I'm totally fine with the way Total War Warhammer 3 came out. Like, launch day, I've had a blast. Today, I'm still having a blast. I'm excited for these changes, but, like I am not one of those people that looked at this and went, okay, I've played Total War Warhammer 3, and I, like, set aside a bunch of time for this, and I'm super pissed that it's shit. Like, I would not have said that at all. I would have said, this is great. I'm loving this. This is fun. I'm still having a great time with it. But, like, I can understand where you're coming from, but I also feel like, how do I say this? I feel like this is kind of in the ballpark of being, like, such a wishful thought that it's just, like, it's just out in the, like, past the moon and the stars. You know what I mean?
I get that. But is it so hard for me to look at Creative Assembly, who are established as one of, if not the biggest game developer in the United Kingdom, and expect a decent release? Like, I have some issues trying to go into the game and play. Like, I can for my my breakdown videos and so on, but, like, if I look at if I compare it to, say, Warhammer 2, where, yes, the release was a bit crap, but I could really log in and I could chill and I could play and I could have my Skaven fuckery or play with my Dark Elves, and I felt that there was more to do. There's just so things like, I don't know. Again, I am referencing the thing of the pandemic because, yes, that was a real thing, but I feel like the game didn't get tested enough to warrant a release coming out. At least that's my thought, because there's loads of issues which a lot of people, a lot of Total War fans are looking at it going, what the fuck is this?
No, I agree that the game could have used more time in the oven. I don't think that was unfortunately, I just don't think that was an option. As far as, there are people whoever calls the shots is not a developer. You know, it's not someone who's down there going, hey, we got this sheet of stuff we got to deal with. And, like, and I think that's the most important thing to have about the discussion is there are higher ups who are making god shit awful decisions. Yeah. Like, and it's I think the most important thing to do in this conversation is to really separate those two teams of that devs that are, like, trying their damnedest. Yeah. Working within these constrictors by really, really shitty, like, I mean, and we know that's literally everywhere right now. Yeah. Like, you look at something like Bethesda, which is just, like, and, like, Cyberpunk, like, you have upper people saying this game has to come out now. Like we need the money now. And it's like, it's not ready. That's almost kind of why I think indie studios tend to be better, is that a lot of the time they're like, hey, we need like X amount of money to make this game. And then they're just like, hey, like we're still working on it and all this stuff. And they tend to release a much more polished product. But they also don't have these like contractual overlords that are like, this game is coming out on X date. And if you can't make that happen, you don't get a job. I fully agree with everything you're saying on that. I guess my question is, I don't know where you're wanting to go with that. Is my question.
The thing is, we started like this is something that we've already talked about, right? Total War released a game once a year, right? Could they not make a lot more money if they released a solid project which people would then be ranting and raving about, rather than just shitting it down on reviews and so on, which obviously happens because the release ends up being kind of shit, let's be honest, and just a little bit of a distance. You don't have to release a game a year because you make a lot of money. It's proof that, for example, Warhammer 3 made a lot of money. It's proof that Warhammer 2 made a lot of money. Rome 2, we can see those numbers on Steam. We can't see it on Epic. We can't see it on any other platforms. But we do see that they do make money. And people come back for DLCs and so on. But you could have more audience retention, which will then lead to more sales, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's great. But like, what I'm asking is like, what are you wanting to happen here? Like, are you coming at this from the angle of like, you're making an announcement that we should like be putting pressure somewhere to like, that's where I'm trying to get to.
Pressure's not going to work, because one fault that CA has is when people get angry, CA go dark. It's usually the case. Because I don't know, maybe that's just the thing. It happens with a lot of people with anxiety. Maybe everyone at CA has anxiety or something. But it does happen a lot. They go dark. And yes, they do start working on stuff and so on. But I'm just saying, something needs to change, man. A release a year is not going to work. What happens when a new historical game comes out? Let's just say Medieval 3 comes out next year or whatever. Is it going to be another dog shit release? Because that just makes me want to stop playing. And the problem is, I do love these games, right? I do love these games. But I want things to work. Is it so hard for me to say I want these games to work? Is it so hard for someone who's paid £60, which is a lot of money, especially given this climate where everything is stupid expensive? Paying 60 quid is not going to be easy for a lot of average people at this point. Is it so hard to say, work? Just work. We just want the game to work. It doesn't matter if we have to wait. It just needs to work. I don't mind waiting. People will be very pissed off. Yes. Oh, yeah, we're delaying the game. Ignore those people, because then those are the same people who start bitching on the forum saying, oh, I can't believe they didn't delay. Because that's what they're always going to do.
I completely understand what you're saying. I agree with the vast majority of what you're saying. But I also cannot help but feel that it's just kind of... I think it's an important point to just kind of like talk about when you can, but I also feel that A, we're definitely going in circles.
Oh, we are.
And B, the only people that have the power in the only people who get to make this decision are these very high up people who never interact with the community. We don't know their names. We don't know who the fuck these people are. And they have all the power of deciding when this is going to happen. I totally agree and think it's great that every once in a while it's good to say, hey, CA, if you're listening, just as a reminder, like, take your time on releases, guys. But at the same time, like, I'm just thinking about earlier in our conversation, like, we literally have a conversation earlier where the messaging is, God, I really hope, like, there's not a whole bunch of time between DLCs, because that's so fucking miserable, which is completely opposite to what we're saying now.
No. Like, the reason why I hope there's no big time between DLCs is because that meant, like, there was just issues all around. Because they can say a patch is, like, again, that's the whole thing. We're aiming to release a patch between DLC. Great. Aiming to me still means nothing until I see it happen. Because aiming is just, like I said, it's a typical British phrase.
Well, okay, but like that's not really a fair thing because like you're working on a hypothetical here, and like, like I get that's cool. That's kind of like a British thing, but like that's a mean. I love you, but I feel like that's a meaningless like dart to throw at the board.
No, because like remember when they started doing the announcements on the not the early access, but the footage and the blogs and all that for Warhammer 3, right? Oh, we're going to see the ogres very soon, right? Oh, no, the pre-order very, very soon. That's what they said. And that was like, what, 4 months later? Fuck me, man, is that soon? You know what I mean? Like, something can be said and then be completely different. And that's what throws me off. It's like, oh, we're aiming for this. And it's like, what? No, it's not the same thing. It might be a bit difficult for those who aren't... used to the god-awful way that a lot of British things said, but very soon, and that, very different. This is why I just get a bit odd with it, yeah? It's because I've grown up with it, and that's why I get a bit anxious about it.
Yeah. I think just ultimately, I think ultimately, there's not really much we can do as far as like this conversation because I think we're just kind of in two very different mindsets on it. Which that's totally fine. You know, it's whatever. Someone in chat I think put it a good way of that. I think we're kind of in a sphere of like I think I'm in the camp of what's happened has happened and I'm moved on. I don't care. Like let's just get where we're going. And I think a lot of people are still in the camp of this was really fucking dumb and still mad about it. And those are two very different camps. I think both camps are valid. I think your feelings on the issue are extremely valid. But I don't think there's really anything we can evaluate or like expand upon further as far as these points. And that I think you got a lot of great points, and you know it's kind of is what it is. And I mean, unless you got more to add, I think we might as well just kind of move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. What is next? We've got. Okay. This might actually be relevant. You're headlining on this.
Wait, I need because I can't like go on the Discord. I need to sort out my third screen. Everything is broken at the moment. I've been moving around. The tables. Basically, I tried to redo my office, and the cat decided to swan dive off the ledge. Everything's been moved. I mean, I don't know why he started doing that, but
your cats worry me.
he's very strange. He's very strange. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there has been a talk about because this is something that's been coming up lately about a YouTubers union. Not a lot of talk has been happening. It's just been mentioned by a lot of creators and so on as a way to establish better communication with CA and so on. And you know, I don't know what they're trying to do with this type of stuff. I'll be very, very honest with you. The experience that I have with established unions down here in Gibraltar and so on makes me a little hesitant because they just don't work here. They don't work at all. But obviously that's given Gibraltar itself. It could be a good way to establish communication with devs and all that. I think that the thing is, a lot of these content creators, and this is something that I see a lot nowadays, they just want the game to be good. They put a lot of time, their own time and effort into their channels, which pushes the game and all that. So that it's a very strange thing because, yeah, I'm seeing it here, like an informal union. Someone just said that on the chat. I see that it could be done very, very well. to establish communication with devs and all that, but I don't know what exactly that could do to fix things.
I'm going to be honest. To me, it sounds very bizarre. Like, I can understand a lot of the... So, for anyone that's, like, not been kind of keeping up with events, and what's kind of led to this is that Warhammer 3 was in a really unique position, probably compared to anything else that we've done, where us content creators had access to the game very early, compared to prior releases. It was like a full month, if not more than that. And because of that, we had the ability to basically be like pseudo beta testers, in the sense of there was literally a direct place where we could post feedback and like discuss it and try and get like some things in the game fixed or changed. And there has been a large amount of frustration, especially from like Legend of Total War, who felt that even though we had this access, and we're submitting feedback, like nothing happened. Well, which I don't know if I would say nothing happened, but a lot of the changes that like Legend, for instance, feels should have been made in light of the fact that we were essentially playtesting, didn't. And once again, I can understand his frustrations, but I don't think that this union idea makes sense as a solution, because I don't see how it would have changed literally anything.
Yeah, no, but we didn't get enough time to properly test anything anyway.
Well, no, but we're not testers. Like, that's not our job. We shouldn't be testing.
Well, nothing there is our job generally. We're just...
Yeah, like CA, hopefully CA should be paying people who are beta testers, because that is a job. That shouldn't be a hobby. That should be like a paid position at a company.
Mm-hmm. But it's just become... it's a strange thing. Like, when it comes to... because I see here someone saying, use your collective power. If you all boycotted something, it would stop lots of advertising for them, and that's what unions do, strike. That won't work. We are replaceable. We as YouTubers... We're
replaceable, and I don't think... Like, getting all the content creators to agree on, like, anything... God, no.
That's not happening.
Like, listen, I love y'all, chat. I love you, Nathan, but, like, if someone came to me and they were like, hey, the Total War Warhammer 3 release was so bad that we're going to boycott the next DLC, are you in? I would say, no, that's ridiculous. Like, because I don't feel that way. I don't feel the release was that bad. Like, I can understand the frustration.
Your mic died.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking hate this mouse. Like, I talk with push to talk, and this mouse is wireless, so, like, sometimes it just disconnects.
Oh, right.
But anyway, it's just stupid. I need to replace it. But it's like, I don't, like, the only way I could see a union, someone thinking that it would be worth the time, is the idea of using, like, the content creator, like, advertising / bargaining power to try and, like, affect something. But it's like, there's two problems. A, the vast majority of us are never going to agree on anything. And B, like, this is, for a lot of us, like me, this is my job. And this is what I do to make money so I can eat and live, is I make content about stuff like this. And CA also pays a lot of content creators to just play the game, who are not involved with any of us and are significantly larger than any of us. Unlike Twitch and stuff, you think they give a fuck? No, of course they don't.
Yeah.
Like that, it's such a pointless, absolutely pointless idea.
I do think that they could do something to keep the creators a bit more united. Because in all fairness, a lot of us creators should be a bit more united on fronts. Like, especially when presenting bugs and so on, we should do it as a team. Because it is useful, because obviously whatever is happening in that beta team, a lot of stuff didn't really get tested too well. Obviously, again, I'm taking into account everything with the pandemic and all that, because you know.
I'm sure if we knew what their beta situation was, it would not be impressive.
Yeah. But
I will say to be fair, like beta testing is not easy, and the Total War games are so fucking gigantic. I can't even imagine what a nightmare that is.
Yeah. But like that's the thing. I would like to see. I don't know what some people may have planned and so on. I think that would be if it works. I mean, that's great. I don't know.
I'm open to the idea. I just don't understand how it would work.
I will say though that a lot of other
maybe I'm just stupid.
Yeah, but I do see the point. Like a lot of creators would screw each other over for the purpose of getting ahead. Because I've seen this happen in different communities, and so
yeah, like I'm not gonna name names, but I can easily think of a few that like if there, you know, what are they called when there's a strike? A person that like goes behind the strike and like cuts the line or whatever. There's a word for them, but like there would be like a ton of those.
I can't remember that word actually. Scab. Everyone's saying it here. It's a scab.
Oh yeah. There would be so many because of anything. It would just be like if anything, it would just make it more lucrative because you'd be the only content creator covering something like really exciting while the rest of them aren't doing it. Like, are you kidding? Yeah. Like that would be, if anything, that would incentivize a lot of people. But I don't know.
Yeah. It's something that obviously is a possible factor. I mean, I don't know too much about the Total War YouTubers because mainly the ones I speak to are my friends like yourself and so on, and we just chill. But like I follow drama going on around on like say for example the Warcraft community and all that because I mean it is just so ridiculous. You kind of just can't stop looking at it because it's like watching a car crash. But it's possible. It's possible. A lot of creators will willingly fuck each other over, and it's kind of sad. Maybe because I see this as because obviously this is just like a part-time thing for me at the moment. I quite like working my normal job, and I quite like having a stable paycheck. But I see it like if it works, I mean, great. I am just one of these people who are just like, shit can go south. CA can easily just replace everyone. I mean, we saw it with the marketing. How many, like you said, a lot of big names just randomly appeared. A lot of people I'd never seen before. Hell, the marketing itself wasn't run too well. I had one of these distribution companies contact me. I shit you not. An email was, "Oh, we see that you like playing Warhammer games. You might be interested in Total War Warhammer 3." I was already releasing Total War Warhammer 3 content.
Oh yeah, well that's just some stupid ass advertising company like that sends out just like, for all we know, that could have just been like, it's probably one of those kinds of emails where they're just like mass sending it to like everyone that might even be remotely relevant.
Yeah, but it's like, well, you could do your fucking research considering that I've already been dropping content for about 2 weeks.
They don't do research. They just shotgun out in space and see what they hit. Yeah, I am curious to see where it goes. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as people get what they want and like everything gets like as long as everything works out for the better of everything. That's my main thing. As long as everything works out for the better of everything. We never know. You never know. I just want the game to do well. Look, a lot of people see me as quite negative about this stuff. I love creative assembly. I do. I wouldn't be devoting so much time if I didn't, right? There's no point playing a game you hate. Because what the fuck is the point? What are you doing with your fucking life if that's the case, right?
I agree with you logically, but I feel like there are so many people that fall under that umbrella.
It's fucking sad. It is fucking sad. I want to play. I want to have fun, man. You know what I can't wait for when when the patch drops and all that, and we get like modding tools if it comes out proper and so on. I'm so hyped for that. Like I was like, oh god, man! Not only that, but I'll get to play again proper. We won't have the issue with unstable mods because right now mods are kind of unstable. People are making them, but like without a proper workshop, it's very hard to keep stuff updated, and then you delete files, and it can become an issue and all that type of stuff. So I'm really happy. And I've spoken to some modders who are like, oh, we're going to do this with this and this. I was like, oh man, that sounds fucking cool. Like, I'm super happy. I'm hyped up for Warhammer again. But when it comes out, like, until then, I'm keeping my expectations because you never know. Shit can happen. Shit can break again. But it's because I love the game. I love the series. They brought back something that was dead, essentially, for what, 5, 6, 7 years? When did we have the end times? It's been a while.
2011?
Fuck me, it's been that long. God.
2012? Somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah. So, like, I want to see... they brought back something which means a lot to me. Like, this is something that I never imagined in my wildest dreams. I just want shit to work, man. You know, that's the thing. I don't say my negative stuff because I hate it. Because if I hated it, I just wouldn't be playing it. But, you know?
Oh yeah, I get you. You've been you've been very expressive on that point.
Because it's very important. A lot of people take my criticism as as something else, and I fucking hate when that happens. Don't misquote me. This is what happens a lot. People go, hey, great book, hates this. It's like, no, never. I hated it. I'd say I fucking hate it. I have no problem being vocal.
Speaking of things we hate and the end times, which are totally unrelated, I'm sure. We do actually have a who would win for today, which this one is actually interesting because I don't know why I haven't thought of this one. Nathan suggested it, and I think it's a great matchup. So for today, on the subject of the end times, we're doing a what if who would win. What would have happened if Balthazar Gelt actually had gotten a fair fight against Medford Von Karstein? What would have happened? Nathan, why don't you run us through Manfred?
Yeah, let me just get the books.
Or Gelt, I don't know, pick one. Whichever one you want.
Yeah, I'm just getting all the books because I've been moving everything and everything's a fucking shit show at the moment. Right, God, these pages are so shit. I hate the... There. Right, we're going to look at Balthazar Gelt, obviously a very big name, very big meme in the Total War Warhammer community. He is the Supreme Patriarch of the Colleges of Magic. A rather interesting character because he's not actually Imperial as far as we are aware. He just kind of showed up. And... He's
100% not Imperial.
Yeah. We don't know exactly what he is. I don't think anyone's seen him without his mask.
They did before the accident, but no one has seen it since the accident.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, I'll rephrase. Nobody's seen his skin since the accident. Like, he always wears, like, robes and a mask and everything. He's fully covered up.
Yeah. So he's a very powerful spellcaster in the lore of metal, constantly known as a lore master. He is one of these characters which is very mysterious. A lot of people don't really know too much about him. There's a lot of running rumors and all that type of stuff. The character himself is... he demands a great deal of respect, especially leading the Colleges of Magic nowadays. Because he took over from... The last Patriarch was a Fire Wizard, wasn't it?
Yep, Thyrus Gorman.
Yeah. The character himself rides atop of a Imperial Griffin, which the Griffin did have a name, didn't it?
What, Gorman? Gorman's?
No, Gelt's Griffin.
Oh, Gelt rides Pegasus. Quicksilver.
Quicksilver, yeah. He's known to carry a few different items with him, like, for example, the Amulet of Sea Gold, which gives him increased magical resistance. I think it's stronger with the more wizards on play, isn't it?
Yeah, it's essentially like a magical artifact that reacts to how much magic is in the air. So the more magic that is present, the more of a barrier against magic it gives Gelt.
Yeah. We've got the Cloak of Molten Metal, which is an enchanted item. It gives him a 3+ ward save against shooting attacks. He's actually pretty good at this type of stuff. It's negating any type of range damage. For those not aware what shooting attacks are in the tabletop, a ward save will keep him nice and protected, which is a very, very good ward save in all honesty.
And he made that himself, which is actually super impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Won't help him a lot in this fight because there's not going to be any shooting, but good item still.
Yeah. And then finally the Staff of Vollens, which is so good on the tabletop because essentially made him a level 6 wizard, which was stupidly good. You'd basically be getting spells off baseline unless people would be able to to dispel him. But like even then, that's a lot of magic that's possible to be thrown out. The character is just super great. Obviously, we're not going through end times, Balthazar, are we?
No, not incarnate of metal. Yeah, which is just normal Gelt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Staff of Vollens, of course, is like probably the most powerful arcane artifact that the Empire possesses. Being that it, of course, belonged to the first Supreme Patriarch and was a gift from Teclis, and every Supreme Patriarch has wielded it, and yeah, it makes your magic go from being like really good to like insane good.
Yeah.
It's what allows Gelt to compete with the likes of Greater Demons and Elf Lore Masters and all of those other like really powerful wizards.
Yeah.
Granted, he's a little more he's nuanced on focusing specifically on the lore of metal versus like an elf wizard that's going to be more varied or something like that. But when it comes to the lore of metal, I really don't think there's anyone that can compete against Gelt. The only character who could come close, in my opinion, is probably the newly invented Zhao Ming. But even then, I think Zhao Ming is more of like a generalist because he, of course, knows all the lores of magic, which allows him to cast the lore of Yin or Yang. But I think when it comes to just pure metal, Gelt is probably uncontested.
Yeah.
Unless he went up against like a Slon that for whatever reason was just like metal's my shit.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's Balthazar's Gelt. Now he is still human. He has a lot of really powerful artifacts that allow him to fly around, and the Pegasus is freakishly quick, and allows him to get around, and yada yada yada. But he does not like to be in combat. We'll put it that way. He really doesn't want to be in a physical fight. But he does have a lot of really impressive lore feats. He specializes in turning like entire armies to gold, and killing them. And he also is a very sneaky son of a bitch who specializes in transmutation as well. On the other side, the other rope, we've got, of course, Medford Von Karstein. Medford Von Karstein is also an incredibly powerful wizard in his own right. And very uniquely, Manfred is a wizard who is very well known for having a just insane amount of spells ready to blast from the hip at pretty much any given moment, in that he uses... He's also a lore master, but unlike Gelt, who has purely is like a pure master at the lore of metal, Manfred von Karstein is not only a master of the lore of vampires, but he's also a master of the lore of death. He's one of the greatest undead spellcasters in the world. I think the only vampire I would consider a better wizard than Manfred would probably be Zacharias.
Yeah.
And the only reason Zacharias is ahead of him is because Zacharias just has some better artifacts, and is like the biggest, baddest Necrarch there is.
Yeah.
But Manfred is like barely below him. He also has a number of really nasty powers. He specializes in, of course, summoning undead creatures. That's something a lot of Von Karsteins tend to be really good at. And he has his Master of the Black Arts and Dark Acolyte system, which are things that just make him an even better spellcaster. He's very good at like utilizing any and all magic that can be supped from the air, and also kind of like hiding it away and allowing him to obliterate his foes with it. For the sake of this battle, we are going to be allowing Manfred to appear as he does in the lore, which Manfred, as he appears in the lore, does actually show up on a dragon. Funny enough, he couldn't take a dragon in tabletop. The biggest thing, you could have him on an Abyssal Terror, which was kind of like a Griffin equivalent. But weirdly enough, probably the biggest thing I hate about this book is that they literally have a story in this army book of Manfred riding a zombie dragon. And then he can't ride a zombie dragon. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Come on, guys. Why? Why would you do this? But we're going to let him have his dragon, because he shows up on one. And of course, that's how a lot of people are used to seeing him with Total War. But in any event, he, of course, very, very, very powerful wizard. He's very good at freaking people out. He causes terror and all that nonsense because, he's a big spooky vampire who has access to lots of horrible spells and such. And then when it comes to his magic specifically, because he is a vampire count and he has access to lower vampires, he can actually summon undead, which is terrifying. And bring lots of little skeletons and stuff onto the battlefield. Granted, it's going to be pretty much useless against Gelt because Gelt is never going to come down on the ground. But that is a situation. And then as far as items go, the two most important is the Armor of Tempelhof, which the Armor of Tempelhof for Manfred is a really, really nasty set of armor that Manfred has basically butchered many other vampires and used their essence to create to make himself much stronger, because Manfred discovered a system where vampires can increase their power by essentially eating other vampires. So he got really busy on that, and not only does it provide him with some armor, not a ton of armor, but enough to protect him from wayward blows and stuff, but it also makes him substantially tougher. He's treated as being almost pretty much as tough as a sizable ogre instead of what you would expect. So he could take a lot of damage before he goes down. And then, of course, he has the Sword of Unholy Power, which this blade basically just makes it that anytime Manfred cuts somebody, he deals any damage to him, he is able to channel, where Vlad, his father, would stab you and his sword would literally drink your blood and heal Vlad. Manfred instead opted for a sword that when it stabs you, it converts your life essence into dark magic, which then he can utilize to cast his sorcery. And of course, Medford Von Karstein, being one of the Von Karstein bloodline, despite the fact he's a fairly good wizard, he's also a very good combatant. He is a very, very skilled fighter with his sword and his really weird sickle thing, which I don't know what that weapon is. I know he always has it. I don't know what it is, but I'll just call it a sickle. So, those are our combatants. I'm going to go ahead and start my poll. Nathan, what are your thoughts so far?
Let me do the poll. Oh, wow. I'm having a bit of an issue here.
No problem. I'll go ahead and start with my thoughts then.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I find interesting about this matchup, especially, I will say Manfred having a dragon certainly does make it where Gelt is going to be super struggling in any kind of melee confrontation. Quicksilver is definitely faster than a dragon and more agile, but obviously dragons are very big and scary and dangerous in combat, and Manfred will absolutely obliterate Gelt if he can get him into melee. However, while Manfred has the melee, if he can get Gelt into a fight, he will basically instantly destroy Gelt. It's not even a contest. However, Gelt is going to have better maneuverability, and Gelt also very heavily specializes in trading blows at range with pretty much anybody. Gelt has literally Gelt's a very conniving, clever son of a bitch, and he has very cleverly designed his own kit and his own items that he uses so that he is specialized for avoiding opponents, staying away from them, and being very difficult to hit. His Cloak of Molten Metal is literally more of kind of an illusion that makes it very difficult to figure out where exactly Gelt is, and even if you hit him, the cloak literally transmutes to protect him from any kind of shooting. So that zombie dragon tries to breathe at him, very unlikely that he would even hit. But even if it did, very unlikely it would actually do any damage to Gelt because of his cloak. And then his sea amulet that he dug up in Estalia the thing about it, this ancient elven heirloom that he found, is that the more magic Manfred is blasting him with, so like the more magic Manfred generates for a spell to unleash on Gelt, the more likely the amulet is going to deflect it. And that's on top of, because they're both wizards, Gelt, of course, is going to be trying to dispel everything Manfred does. And utilizing the Staff of Vollens, Gelt is a more powerful wizard than Manfred is. Because the Staff of Vollens does kind of bump him up to being just an insane level of power. And when you're purely dealing with controlling and stretching and quieting the winds of magic. Now, Manfred does have a lot more versatility, because Manfred is not purely relying on like the lore of vampires. Like, he's going to be able to use both of his lores. So he can use the lore of vampires to make his dragon significantly more agile and swift as he buffs it up with Van Hal's Dance Macabre. Or he can like unleash terrifying spells to like change the weather to try and make things more difficult for Gelt. He can use death magic to try and sap away at Gelt's mind, or kill his Pegasus to make him fall from the sky. But there is a lot of really intricate stuff going on, and I think more than anything, it kind of comes down to a magical duel of, can Manfred somehow utilize his sorcery, either empowering himself or focusing on Gelt, to allow him to get close enough to Gelt to land that one hit he would frankly need to kill Gelt. Because if he can get on Gelt and he can land that blow, Gelt's dead. Like, it's not even close. But Gelt is very slippery. So normally we have Nathan say his pick first, but I'm actually going to go first this time. As much as I know it's going to hurt people to say this, I personally think that Manfred would win. I think as long as Manfred is airborne, either on a Hellsteed, an Abyssal Terror, or a Zombie Dragon, I think without Gelt Gelt would be able to resist for a super long time, but I think Manfred has enough... Manfred is so tanky. Like, he can take a lot of damage from Gelt, and he's also not covered in armor. Like, he has some armor, but he's not super well armored. So the Lore of Metal, while it would be good against him, would not be, like, as good, because the Lore of Metal is kind of one of those lores that the more armored you are, the more at risk you are of being hurt by it, because it can literally turn your armor against you. I do think Gelt will put up a hell of a fight, but I think I would have to go with Manfred, because I do think he would be able to eventually catch him by at least empowering himself, or his dragon. And as soon as he caught him, it'd be like that scene from the first Vampire Count trailer where that zombie dragon just eats that bright wizard on the the Pegasus. What about you? What are your thoughts, Nathan?
I don't know. When you put up both, because obviously it's a good matchup, you'd basically be getting the Duel of Fates, but with magicians instead of Jedi. I don't know. I'd have to go with Balthazar of anything, mainly because like the lore of magic that he wields is extremely powerful. Yes, you would get a lot of strength with Manfred being able to use the lore of death and the lore of vampires. I think that mainly because Balthazar is so powerful, the Staff of Vollens will mainly supercharge him. Obviously, being able to cast a lot more than, say, Manfred, for example, will give him the edge up. If he can just keep pelting the dragon and keep pelting Manfred, he could probably slow him down enough.
That's true.
Obviously.
I mean, and like, hell, he could... I mean, Gelt is infamous for using Final Transmutation as like his Hail Mary spell. And like, if he hit Manfred's dragon with that, there's a good chance it would kill the dragon.
Yeah, I mean, that spell is just wonderful. It's not as representative on Total War as it is on the tabletop, which is just hilarious.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, it's much more psychologically terrifying, in my opinion, in like the lore.
Yeah, like, it is super special. You can hit the dragon with that. You're basically fucking Manfred over as much as possible. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with Gelt. Like, everything to me screams Gelt. Like,
Hey, and that's awesome. Great.
There is a bit of bias though, because I fucking hate Manfred.
I mean, hey, like, I think it would kind of almost be like a cool fight to watch of like you just see Skelt streaking across the sky. Manfred's trying to urge his dragon on as it's slowly turning to gold beneath him, and it just gets,
Yeah.
could he, Gelt would just have to stay ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, great matchup though.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed those two are so very, very well matched.
Yeah, they're good characters. They are.
So my chat went 57% in favor of Manfred Von Karstein.
I've got 51% for Gelt and 49% for Manfred the Baby.
Ah, there we go. Hey, those 50%, that means we picked a good one.
Yeah.
All right. And then basically the last subject for today. Like I said last time, we're adding a new segment to the show, which is basically just called like Lore Thoughts or Lore Fluff or whatever you want to call it, where me and Nathan will just kind of think of a subject, or we'll look on Twitter for a subject, and we will talk about our favorite of that subject within the lore of Warhammer Fantasy. And today, the thing we're doing is our favorite spell. So Nathan, you want to go first or second?
Either way is fine. Are we going specifically on lore, or we're using tabletop on it too?
You can whatever your criteria is. It can be whatever you want.
Cool. I've got the spell.
I'll let you go first.
All right. So, for those who do know me, I am a very highly competitive tabletop player, and sometimes I like to have a little bit of fun. Mostly, I played Skaven, and I think you can imagine what spell I'm going to talk about. The dreaded 13th spell, Curse of the Horned Rat, because it was just so fucking good on the tabletop, because it would make people so angry at you, and I loved playing it just because of that. The spell itself is fun. Essentially, basically what you would do is you'd cast it, you'd roll a lot of dice, because if on tabletop you needed a 25 plus to get it out, unless you use certain items to reduce it by half and get a magical 13. And you could.
It was like what, 46 dice?
Yeah,
yeah.
It was really fuckery. However, if you could land it on your opponent, you would do a lot of damage, 4d6, which was quite a decent amount, unless you had a really bad roll, which has happened to me before. And if you completely destroyed the unit, you would turn them into clan rats,
Which, to clarify, when he says 46, like, you would roll 46, and granted, it can only target very specific types of troops.
Yeah, infantry.
But, yeah, it was like, I think, yeah, it's infantry. If you target an infantry unit, you'd roll 46, and whatever you rolled, that's how many people just died. No ward saves.
No save of any kind.
Yeah, you got, there was nothing you could do about it. That many people just insta-died.
Yeah, I mean, you see those, that unit of Phoenix Guard from the High Elves, which had 4
yeah, that was always
upwards.
that was the real juicy one.
Yeah, you would just watch in horror as you could, because I've had 4 6s on that before, so I did a shit ton of damage, deleted the unit, and then clan rats.
Yeah, and even from a lore perspective, that spell is freaking amazing. So, like, because it's you, like, the people are literally being transmuted into Skaven.
Yeah, it's
which,
just
like,
so fun.
And the reason, for anyone curious, the reason you only got a unit if you killed the unit was because in the spell's lore, it literally says that because the transformation is, like, it's quick, but it's also, like, agonizing and very obvious. Basically, anyone in the unit who was not turned into a Skaven would immediately kill the people in the unit turning into a Skaven. But if everybody turned into a Skaven, then, suddenly they were yours now. But yeah, I've seen that spell in some hilarious circumstances. Probably the most infamous of which is, like, a character bus of High Elves. So you have, like a Lord, Techless, and, like, 2 nobles. One of them's a BSB and a Phoenix Guard unit. And just everybody turns into a rat and instantly dies. Like, it's just game. Like, you might as well stop. You're done.
It's such a good spell. I mean, it's very rare to get it. You're pretty much hoping for an overcast, because the limit is, 6 dice that you can throw, unless you've got some Warpstone tokens with you. But it's so good. So the maximum that you can roll is 9.
Well, yeah, you were basically just hoping for double 6s.
Yeah, it's just so good. It's just because it's fuckery, and you can just see people's face drop. Like, It is such a great spell. It's a shame that it doesn't really work like that in Total War, because you just basically summon clan rats or something.
So you summon storm vermin.
Yeah.
But it's a weird spell because like if you target it right, then where the tunnel comes up, it'll do like a ton of damage. But it's really hard. It's really weird to target.
Yeah.
Like the targeting on it's kind of funky. But it can be really, really strong. It's just that because the Lore of Plagues has the clan rat summon, most people just spam the clan rats because it's just cheaper.
Yeah.
But it is a fun spell.
Yeah. But I've loved this on tabletop and tournaments. It's very rare that I'll use it, mainly because of its high cost rate. But there is just something so satisfying as watching someone's big fucking unit get demolished. And then you just relax as you see them rage. It's so fun.
So my favorite spell, both from a lore and fond tabletop memories perspective, is the Comet of Cansandora.
Oh my god.
Because that spell is absolutely hysterical. In that that spell, so it's what it is on the 10, you summon a comet. It was not that hard to cast. In Total War, it feels much more expensive than it did on tabletop. Because what I would normally do is I would literally just take a skink priest. I would take like 2 skink priests that were level 2 on the Lore of Heavens and just pray that one of them got comet, and then I would just 6 dice comet every turn. Because the thing about comet that was so hilarious is when you would cast it, you would 6 dice it because your opponent would really not want it to go off, because it was one of the only spells in the game that was a devastating spell that you could force your enemy to try and dodge, and they couldn't dispel it. Once the comet started, it couldn't be stopped. And what you would do is after you'd cast, you'd take like a little marker or a coin, and you'd put it anywhere you wanted on the table. And every single magic phase after that, you would roll a d6, and on a 1 through 3, the comet would either get bigger, or on a 4 through 6, it would hit the ground. And when it hit the ground, it would hit in a radius of 2d6 inches plus however many times you had rolled a 1 through 3, and it would do 2d6 hits plus however many rounds you had rolled a 1 through 3 at a strength of 4 plus however many rounds it had been building up. So, and depending on your opponent, it could be so horrible. Because basically you'd pick a point where even at, the absolute basic bitch level, it would hurt. 2d6 strength 4 hits is nothing to sneeze at. But odds are it was going to be 2d6 plus 2 strength 6 hits, which is devastating. Not a lot is going to take that and walk away. So you drop it, and your opponent would basically have to just start running for his life away from it, which was hilarious because then he would move out of position and you could, take advantage of that. Especially if you had war machines or something, and then you drop it and he'd have to go, ooh, do I risk my war machine probably getting blown up, or do I try and move away, in which case it can't shoot, and stuff like that. But it was such a goofy fucking spell, because the other thing is it would do friendly fire. So what would happen to me a lot of games is I would summon a comet, and I would have I'd just keep rolling 3s. So it would be building up on both of our turns. So I would just keep playing, and eventually it would hit the ground with 6 or 7 counters on it. And because the radius was so large, it would hit everything on the table. It would just hit everybody because it had a radius of or it would have a diameter of like a 19-inch area of effect. So there's just no dodging that. So it would hit everybody, and you would just be like, all right, I'll just hope that I have more stuff left on the table than he does after I resolve the effects of this spell. So it was just hysterical. It could be very, very strong. Yeah. And it was especially horrifying if you were really lucky and you were getting off multiple comets. Because I could cast Comet on turn 1 and turn 2 and turn 3, and like it would be a new comet every time, and you're just like, I don't know what's gonna hit the ground, but it's gonna be great when it does.
Yeah.
Like I have lost games because I've commented myself, but I have won more games than I've lost thanks to comets. And especially when you have a skink priest that literally costs somewhere between 65 to 100 points, just spam casting this spell, it could be infuriating because it's a very good spell for a really just shit tier wizard to just be like, I'm just gonna keep throwing and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I always love the idea of this skink whose only job is to just reach into space and just slap stuff at the earth. But I also love in Total War. Like I do wish that it had much better damage than it does. Or like a larger radius, or at least more damage, like on its exact impact, so that if it landed like right on top of a monster, maybe it could kill it, like the nukes do for Ikit Claw. But it is still a very fun spell. It has a spectacular effect, and if you hit like a big block of infantry or cavalry with it, it will absolutely fuck. Yeah. Like it'll do so much damage. Well, for anyone wondering, what this spell does from a lore perspective is there's like a lot of things just hanging out in space, and Comet of Cansadora is literally that the wizard like just searches for a comet of a certain size or within a certain distance, and they literally just magically grab it and pull it towards the planet very quickly. So it just starts immediately hurtling towards wherever the wizard vaguely aimed at. And there have been some pretty comical moments in the lore of people using the spell. And pretty much every time someone uses the spell in lore, it does not go the way you want it to. Like, it'll obliterate whatever it hits, but it tends to wipe out, like, both sides.
Yeah.
As opposed to just one side. I mean, probably my favorite time it got used, even though it was sad, was during the end times. Teto Echo drops a meteor on the city of Tlanksha as it's getting overrun by Skaven. And, like, the meteor is so big, it literally just, like, turns the city to ash. Most of the lizardmen who are, like, way out of the city, if they didn't have, like, a barrier protecting them, like Teto Echo did, they just died. Because the impact was, like, that stupid.
Yeah.
And, of course, I mean, that's basically what the Celestial Dragon Emperor's Court of Astromancers did. They literally cast Comet on steroids against the ogres. Now, unfortunately for them, it ended up being a Warpstone Comet, which... Honestly, it would have been hilarious if Comet of Cansadora had that as like a bonus rule in tabletop. Like if you rolled a 6 when rolling to see if it hits the ground, it ends up being a Warpstone meteor instead of a regular one. It does like bonus damage. That would have been so stupid, but it would have been great.
I do love that spell.
Yeah, fun spell though. Like I really hope it's like one of the spells we start with access to in Warhammer: The Old World.
Yeah. Well, they'll have to bring in the 8 Laws of Magic, I think, directly in. I mean, it looks like Empire won't have access to them unless they change the lore a bit, because we didn't get the Colleges of Magic until after that war. But I don't know. Like, well, obviously Empire, High Elves.
Well, they did start training the wizards during the war. Techless did.
Yeah, true.
They had Vollens and all of them at the Battle of Kislev.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting. Like a lot of those spells were just so fuckery, but so good. I mean, one which is very similar would be remember Plague.
Plague and Foot of Gork. Those two spells, like. They were very strong, but man, if they backfired, ooh, it was bad. It was super bad.
Like, if you see a Skaven player start frothing at the mouth, you know he's going to cast Plague. And you have to get ready for either things to go very well for him, very well for you, everyone's just getting fucked over, or just nothing happening at all. It was so fun.
Yeah, so for those listening, the Plague and Foot of Gork had a similar system in that when you cast the spell, you would get to resolve it, where Plague is you'd pick a unit and deal damage to them, and Foot of Gork is you'd literally like put a foot template over a unit and stomp on them. However, what was unique about these spells is they could spread, so they could keep going. So for Plague, you'd roll a dice, and on I think it was like on a 3 or higher, or a 4 or higher, you could spread it to a nearby enemy unit. But if you rolled like a 1, it would spread to a friendly unit.
I can tell you, yeah. 1 is a spell backfiring, 2 to 4 is spell ends, and then 5 to 6 you can choose to hit a target within 12 inches.
Yeah, so if you rolled a 1, your opponent would go, "Oh, I'm infecting your unit." So it could keep going. And the Foot of Gork is the exact same. The Foot of Gork, every time you'd stomp, you'd roll a dice. And I think on the Foot of Gork, it was like a 4-up. You could stomp on a new target. And on a 1, your opponent would get to stomp on one of your things. But you would just keep going until you got like a 2 or a 3, and then it would stop.
Yeah.
But it could get absolutely ludicrous between Plague and Foot of Gork. Of just them, like, you don't know who's gonna benefit from it.
That's why when a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, Magic's really overpowered in Total War Warhammer," it's like, yeah, you should see it on the tabletop, man.
yeah, right, dude. We could easily delete a unit from existence in tabletop. That was casual. People using like purple. You could delete armies from existence with a single spell with Purple Sun.
Oh god, Purple Sun! I love that spell so much.
Yeah, or like if there was like a character bus, you could literally just be like Dwellers Below, and then it would just like cease. Like there spells were. There used to be some just absolutely fucking ridiculous spells.
Oh yeah, man. Oh man, I can't wait to have another. I've got a game coming up next week. I'm just so excited to play because I've got Purple Sun on my list.
Yeah, or you'd have like Bretonnians like overcast like Savage Beast of Horus on their character bus, so every single character their strength would be like twice as high, and they'd have twice as many attacks, so that each of them individually was like a god. They'd all swing, and you're just like, oh, okay, I just lose. All right, fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, I miss them so much. I actually, I remember. I'll show you. 1 second. Give me a sec. Because it's show and tell time. I hope
You're doing well, chat. We do appreciate you all joining us today. Obviously, there's a lot of tense subjects and happy subjects going on these days, but we hope y'all are still enjoying the show.
The spell templates and shit.
Oh, I love that.
I fucking love these.
You got your 5 inches?
Yeah.
Where's your 3 inch?
5. These are the official ones sold by G Dubs.
Okay. What's that? Oh, is that Banishment?
Banishment. You've got every vortex and big spell
That's
has
Purple
one.
Sun.
They did it for the 8
rules
rules of magic.
No, Banishment wasn't a vortex. Banishment was direct damage. What's the white vortex supposed to be?
Don't know. No, this one's yellow.
Yeah, which one is that? What spell is that supposed to be though?
I'm not too sure. I know there was every vortex was covered with this, because like they give you a nice little group of them. I've got like
I'm trying to remember. Let's see. The vortex spells were. It was Flamestorm. Maybe that's Flamestorm. Chain Lightning was not a vortex spell. There were like very few vortex spells in tabletop. There were like 2 or 3.
Yeah, no, there's quite a few because I've got 6. Give me a second, I'll get them all.
I'm trying to think what the white one could be. It might have been one of the army specific ones because I don't think there was a white one.
A little bit dusty because I barely use them anymore. I mean, Flamestorm is here.
Okay, so there's Flamestorm. And then Purple Sun is the purple one.
I'm assuming this is Purple Sun, yeah.
Okay, then there should be... What, Pit of Shades, maybe?
This is Pit of Shades.
Okay.
Because it's got skulls all over and all that. Not sure what this one is.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
This is the Skaven one, isn't it?
Oh, which one was the Skaven one? Was it Vermintide? I think Vermintide was the Vortex. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, it could be Vermintide.
The Hounds of Orion were like an actual model. Oh! Wait, no, it wasn't Gehenna's Gold Hounds. That wasn't a Vortex either.
Yeah, and we've got this one too. Which I think this is for the Thunderbolt.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, this could be
Weird.
for Thunderbolt because this is lightning and all that. It's a cool thing. Like I picked this up. They released this, I think, at the beginning of 8th.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Either that or... Yeah, it would have been at the beginning of 8th. army suggestion for a beginner, Flaming Dragon in what? Like in fantasy, in AOS, in Total War? Because the answer will change significantly depending on which medium you choose. But yeah, I always love the gimmicky shit. Like I love, like, even though I know it's them just like stealing money from me, like I love that kind of shit. Those physical little, like I love the little like the little templates you get, or the little like physical markers for like spells and stuff, and like the special rulers and all that. Like I am such a slut for that stuff. It's not even funny.
The best gimmicky thing was this, because I like how they did this better than fucking because Age of Sigmar has cool ones, but I think this was the best. Hopefully it shows up, because it is green. Remember the old dice tins?
Oh, the dice tins. Oh, wait, hold on. I want to see if I can find something I want to show off cool too. Hold on.
Fucking hell, opening this up is a bastard. Whoa. Little sweeties. Warpstone dice. These are so fucking rare now.
All right, my turn for show and tell.
Yeah.
What I got? Spell cards.
Ah, nice. Yeah. Those are so cool. I love them. I've got the whole collection myself. It's just so fun to use.
I've only got the Lizardman ones, but like these were fucking hype every time they released a new book. The spell cards, these were great.
Yeah, it made it so easier to use on a match and so on. Those were just so good.
I wish they released them for AOS. I would love spell cards in AOS, but they don't do that.
That's weird.
Yeah, they only release like little like punch out tokens for like if your spell like has like a lingering effect, so you can like put it next to a unit, but they don't do spell cards anymore.
Someone's asking.
They do war scrolls, which will have like all of your rules and stuff, but they haven't done spell cards.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
For those confused, spell cards is because you'd have your spells in your army book, right? Which isn't showing up yet. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, these are like quick reference.
Yeah.
It's not like 5th edition where you actually needed cards.
Yeah.
These were just so you didn't have to open your book.
It just made things so much better, especially if you were using, say, for example, remember Storm of Magic with just the horrendous amount of spells there? It's like,
oh yeah,
it just made life so much easier, and it was just so good.
I secretly hope that's something that they do. Like, they don't have to. I wouldn't be upset if they didn't do it, but I would love so much if they added for the Storm of Magic fights in the Realm of Chaos, if you had like a small percentage chance to get the spell that's unique to your army in the Storm of Magic book.
Yeah. Like
the Super Nurgle spell or the Super Lizardman spell, or those, because those spells are so fucking dumb. Like, in a fun way, but they are so dumb. They're so overpowered. And we're just hilarious.
Yeah, they were just... I refused to play much of Storm of Chaos, Storm of Magic, because they were just... It was so much sometimes.
Storm of Magic is not... Like, you should not play that for, like, competitive. It was purely, like, stupid fun.
Yeah. Like,
if you and your friends wanted to get drunk and play a game that you... were probably need to be a little bit sober because of all the rules, but like if you wanted to play like just a like you're like let's just show up with whatever we have and play a stupid fucking game, that Storm of Magic, perfect. Yeah. Perfect for that. But it did give us a lot of good monsters, which was fun.
Oh yeah, man.
And the monsters were great. Like in a lot of my local groups, you were allowed to use Scrolls of Binding. You weren't allowed to use the magic items, and you weren't allowed to use the spells, but you could use the monsters.
It was just so much fun. It was just so much stupid fun. God, I can't wait for Old World. I really can't.
Yeah, dude, we're nearly there. It's got to be this year or next year. We're nearly there. Yeah,
someone came up with a conspiracy theory that you might like this, right? So they made a big push about squares, right, and 4 sides and all that. And someone came up with a conspiracy theory, right? It was on one of the Warhammer Facebook groups, but I shit you not, it was like a fucking dissertation going by there's clearly 4 sides to the bases, so it's going to be released in 4 years, which would be 2023. I was reading on it, I was like, man, this guy smoked some really good shit to come up with it, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that he's like, listen, the entire marketing campaign was revealed in this first image. It's like, about that.
I mean,
someone in chat asked, what is our speculative old world release date? I'm thinking probably early. If it's not, so the thing that's important to know about GW is that whenever they do something really big, it's usually a summer campaign. So I think it's probably going to be next summer, unless they reveal it at Adepticon, which I think is like today.
This week, yeah.
I know it's this week. I don't know what day it is, but Adepticon is there. There's probably going to be a big reveal there, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah. I'm hoping either this year or next year. This year would be great because I've been burning through a lot of my pile of shame in an effort to make space for this, and I'm dying to play. I'm imagining, because there's been loads of rumors, there's been loads of rumors about just loads of stuff. We don't know how true or false they are because some of them sound realistic. I would just love it if we got it this year, because we would start seeing, like, this is the thing. I don't think we're going to start seeing it until we get some, like, Kislev and Cafe DLC, because then we'll know what's pretty much coming as Kislev and Cafe DLC,
Yeah. But, I mean, that could also literally be, like, next month, month after. Like, I don't know what the schedule is.
Yeah. Like,
I assume they're going to start off with, like, a race pack, but if they don't, then it could be Lord Pack with Cathay or Kislev in it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, like, hyped up. If it happens next year, the guy who smoked some really good stuff must have been, like, he's going to be smug as shit.
I'm a prophet! Going to be out in the streets.
But, like, I'm just hyped. Like, is there anything that you're, like, personally waiting for Old World?
So the biggest thing I'm waiting for right now is I really want them to release the dwarf map. Because you know how they're doing the maps on all, like, the playable empires and stuff? I really want to see the dwarf map.
Yeah.
Because right now, so far they've done the Border Princes, Bretonnia, the Empire, Kislev, and Cathay.
Yeah.
The two I'm probably the most excited for right now are, that I think we're going to see quickly, are dwarfs, or any day now, are dwarfs and the Darklands. Like, I'm really curious how, like, the Hobgoblin Khanate, they're, like, really leaning on.
Yeah.
And, like, I keep saying this, that for Total War, I'm kind of like, I'm open to the Hobgoblin Khanate. There's just some other stuff I want first.
Yeah, same.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. There's something super fucking... Actually, hold on. You know what? It'll wait for next time. I found something super exciting, but, like, I'll let it sit for a week.
But yeah,
I'll let everyone just be like, "What is Sotek so excited about?" It'll have to wait till next week.
Honestly, I was surprised that they, because everything looked like they were focusing on one area to begin with. Because they did Bretonnia, they did the Empire, they did Kislev, a little bit of a hint towards Norska and the Norse Dwarfs, and then straight down to the Border Princes. So I was like, oh, this is really, really cool. We're likely going to get some information.
And then they were like, Cathay!
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Well, the thing is, and I said that in my video when they announced it, is like, oh, look, they announced Cathay. Like, we weren't expecting it, considering that they released artwork 3 months ago showing the Warhammer, the Old World logo.
I do. The map is so pretty, though.
It is. It's fucking
And I do love that we got the center brother. Not Li Dao. Oh God, what is his name? Sounding Yin Yin Li Dao Yu Bao. Yuan Bo.
Yuan Bo. Yeah.
Yeah, Yuan Bo. But like, man, I can't wait to see the whole Cathay map. Like, I'm so irritated with them that they only showed us most of Cathay. It's like, show me all of it.
Yeah.
I know you're not, because you're probably hiding something. Show me all of it.
I was honestly just hoping that they'd move on to, because obviously the Border Princes made a lot of big questions pop up. Like, what is this heraldry and all that stuff? So I was like, show me Talia, show me Astalia, come on.
Yeah, the Border Princes was really funny, I think, because Games Workshop kind of got a weird reaction from that, where they were like, oh, look, it's the place nobody cares about, so you can make up your own thing. And the whole community was like, I want the lore on all of this.
Yeah.
King Sir Trump was like, what? Like, oh, we didn't realize y'all actually gave a shit about the Border Princes. It's like, of course we do.
I think, yeah, they must have been really surprised, especially because, like, look, the new heraldry for me, that was like, this is obviously Arabian with the fucking moon and the sun and all that, and the crescent moon, which is so typical.
Like, it was a really cool way to tease a lot of stuff, but I also want to know about, like, what's going on.
Yeah. And it's like, we're going there next. I really had that in my head. I was like, oh yeah, next is going to be Estalia, next is going to be Tilia. It's definitely one of them. It's like, oh, Cathay. Oh. Like, if
dude, I am... After reading all the Up in Arms stuff, like, Talea is just like, it's just teasing us now.
Yeah.
It's like, stop teasing me and let me finish. Yeah. Show me Talea, you bastards.
The book is really good. I'm not sure if I think a lot of people have been reading it at this point. Like, they established a lot of stuff in there that was just cementing it. This is something which a lot of people kind of got confused about when I did my video. It's like, it's not the fact that it's because there is some new stuff, but the fact that it got re-cemented into the lore.
It's very similar to what they've been doing with Cathay and Kislev, where, like, everything they can keep, they keep. Mm-hmm. And then they just, like, fill in gaps.
Oh, yeah. Which is an impressive thing, because a lot of people don't seem to look towards Cubicle 7 as another source, which they should.
Dumb, because we've proved it multiple times
exactly
already.
There's a lot of stuff which we need to, like, cross-referencing is important. I think they do a very good job, too. I think they've got very good writers, because the stuff that they do release still feels like Warhammer Fantasy, doesn't it?
Yeah, literally the only problem I originally had with them was when they first started. The lore was obviously in a different edition. Like, it was like 5th edition lore. Yeah. And I remember being like, man, I love this, but I hate that it's not 8th. And then they're like, haha, just kidding, we're going to 8th. It's like, oh. But, and I also, the thing that I really love about it is I love that we're getting updates to the lore of the Warhammer we all know and love. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the old world, but I am also very excited to get, like, updates to the modern world, and Cubicle 7 is doing that, which I'm so thankful for.
Which, actually, there was a rumor, and I want to get your opinion on it before we call it a day. Someone put out a little rumor once, and I was like, oh, this sounds pretty interesting. Old World will have multiple settings through supplements.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, because they have 2 options, right? Well, no, sorry, 3 options, which one of them would be awful. So the worst case scenario, they release Warhammer the Old World, which is about, like, the Great War Against Chaos timeline, and then that's, like, it.
Yeah.
Like, once the Great War ends, that's the end of the setting.
Yeah.
Like Horus Heresy, essentially. I think that would be terrible.
Yeah.
Second option, which would be okay, but not my preferred option, is that they do the Great War Against Chaos, and then it literally just keeps going along the timeline until we get to the modern day. Fine, but not my preferred. Yeah. I think the best option would be, it's like a greatest hits series. So, like, you do the Great War Against Chaos, and then once we finish that, okay, now it's time for the Time of Darkness and Disharmony in Cathay, which is technically the same war, so maybe a better example would be like, hey, we're going to go do the Lustrian War. Yeah. So it's going to be a big focus on Skaven versus Lizardmen with everyone else involved.
Yeah.
And then, oh, now we're going to go do the Vampire Wars in the Empire and give you, like, a new Vlad and Isabella mini and focus on that war. Once we're done with that, okay, now we're going to go do the Goblin Wars, where we're going to focus on the Dwarves versus the Greenskins and the Skaven. Okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to go do the War of the Dead, when the Tomb Kings fought the newly resurrected Nagash, and we got to have this big fight of undead versus undead. Okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to go do the War of the Beard. And you're like, you're just printing money. After that, we're going to go do the Sundering. Like, literally just printing money. Like, and it would be like, yeah. Let's do the Great Cataclysm when the demons, showed up. And there's like, hey, you want an Anarian mini? Here's a fucking Anarian mini that you can only use for this mode, but, like, go ham. Give me a Calor Dragon Tamer mini, or give me Lord Croak alive as the exclusive mini. Like, I would pay so much fucking money for any of that.
Yeah. Like it would be really, really cool. That's kind of like the rumor going around. And I tell you what, I like the idea because don't get me wrong, I like the 30k system, because what that would mean is if they did the 30k system, that we would get a shit ton of novels, because they're not going to end 30k until the novels end, and we're
4K no los dos.
yeah. But like we have Horus Heresy is what, like 60 novels in now or something?
Yeah, dude, I would like, with having the whole planet, they could easily do that with the Great War, because the Great War, I mean, the thing that's so exciting about it is everybody's involved. Like literally every single faction in the Warhammer Fantasy planet was involved in the Great War.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point, is it's Warhammer's World War One.
Yeah.
So like, man, I would love that if they had a series where it's like, okay, these books are going to focus on like the Kislevite perspective, and then just as we're getting to the big fight, we switch to the Magnus perspective, and then it switches to the Bretonia perspective, and then it switches to the Cathay perspective, and like it could just be nuts.
I mean, the Great War Against Chaos itself has so much possible law breaks, law changes, because we, as far as we are aware, given the artwork that they have shown, we're starting at the point where we don't have 3 emperors, we have 4. Because Marienburg is independent.
Yeah, so Marienburg has bought its independence at this point. Wait, is that right? I think that's right. Because they bought their independence. Yes. Marienburg's independent at this point. And then you've got the other 3. And then you got the 3 emperors.
Yeah.
So like we got that, which that's like, boom, that's 4 perspectives right there.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even seem to include Magnus, so that's like a 5th perspective.
Yeah.
And then you got like the dwarfs, like we got Norscan dwarves. I'd love to see what was going on with them, because we know that one of Asavar Kul's Asavar Kul had like a series of really big generals. One of his biggest generals was Valmir Eisling, who in the Warrior of Chaos story, he goes to war with the Norscan dwarves. So while Asavar Kul and all his buddies go down to Kislev after they get... Oh, Marienburg had not bought its freedom yet? Okay, so they were not quite there yet. I couldn't remember which emperor it was that paid them off. Or they paid off. But, so you have this big thing of like, I would love to see the Norscan dwarves versus Eisling. Like, that would be a really cool war. And give them a big focus, while we also still have the Karasakarak dwarfs who come up and fight in the Battle of the Gates of Kislev. And like Bretonia had an infantry war going on against the Greenskins during all this. So that would be super fun.
Round about that time also was a certain Sultan rising and dealing with Estalia and Talia, and then...
the unnamed... Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm very excited to see how everything's gonna play out.
Yeah, like there's so much. Is this right before? This is also right before the Skaven Black Plague, isn't it?
The Black Plague was. I think the Black Plague is already over. I think the Black Plague was like in like 1111 IC, and this is like in 2300 IC.
Wasn't it? Because they there's the case of it's after, because Boris Goldgather would have been dead, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Goldgather is super dead.
Yeah. Ah man, I just can't wait. I want to see that. I want to see Bretonians versus Arabi in a box. I want to see fucking Kislev versus Chaos. I want to see Norska as a proper army book, which I think would be kind of cool. Not just a shitty supplement type of thing. Oh god, I can't wait to see what the hell happens. I just really can't wait for Old World. I really can't.
Neither can I. It's gosh, it's very exciting.
Yeah, man. Like I'm just like the moment that book comes out, I'm locking my way for 2 weeks and just nobody's gonna see me. Nobody's gonna see me online. It's just I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I may have to, like, just so I can, like, make money and not, like, go out of business as a YouTuber, just, like, read it on stream. Just be, like, live reacting as a stream. Like, I'm not even gonna read chat. Like, y'all can just... It'll basically be like a sleep stream, but it'll just be a nerd being like, oh! Like, that's all it is the entire time. People would watch that, right? It's just reaction porn.
This is gonna be amazing. I honestly just, oh man, like I want new rules. I want new miniatures. I want an army. I want, you know, that feeling when a new edition comes and you get that fresh new army book that you've been waiting for, and you're like, I can't wait to make so many people
I have not had that feeling in a long time.
Yeah, man. Like I
kind of feel I sort of feel that way about Nighthawk, but like AOS is like, it's just not the same for me. Like I enjoy it, but it's not the same as fantasy.
Yeah,
it's just not.
I just can't wait to pick up, and I hope the rule book is stupid large again, man. Just so I can beat people to death.
The fact I'm gonna get to play a tabletop game where there's like flanking, as a tactic.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. I think because that will definitely become content for you and me, you know, because like we love this shit, man. We've been waiting. We've been screaming, bring back Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah, we're literally just waiting for that.
Yeah.
Like Total War's great. Don't get me wrong, but like I think honestly we're tabletop people first.
Yeah, like lore changes, just fucking meta stuff, list building. God, you know how much I love just sitting down with like Battlescribe open and just writing hypothetical lists because it's just so stupid fun.
Oh yeah, dude. All my army books from when I was little, so like my 6th edition and 5th edition books are literally just full of scribbles because I was a kid and I would write and I would like be building army book like lists in my book and stuff. And like I look back at it fondly, like thankfully I'm a different kind. I'm not the kind of collector where it's like I need it in mint condition. I'm just like, oh, you know, it's used because I love it. Like it's used with love.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would fucking hate younger me.
I've got one of the army books. I think it was the I think it was actually the let me see. There's one, I think it's the Bretonian one when I was doing my Paladin build, because I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm sure Bretonia will work in a decent army on the tabletop. And I built a Paladin, which was really, really cool. And it fucked up on me really badly. So I've actually got it written down there, twat, next to that fucking virtue.
The first edition that I really, really got to play and like just spend all the time with in the world was 6th edition. It's held together by duct tape.
That's good though. That shows use. That shows fucking use.
Like you can see how just like ripped and everything is. Like some of the pages will fall out if I'm not careful. Like this poor book has been through the ringer. It's been through so much.
So cool.
But you know, it was being used by an 11-year-old child. So you know, instead of like, I don't know, going to a print shop, which definitely existed then, and getting them to just put like rings through it, I was like, nah, fucking duct tape. There we go. That'll do it.
That's so cool. God.
Sell it to you for $300. You know, Hammond, I'll think about it. That's because I could probably buy a much nicer one of that same book for about that much money.
Collectors are so dude, I have a mint condition Tamacon, right? Mint condition, because I've only used it for a few different campaigns.
That book is so expensive.
Yeah. And people message me every so often offering stupid amounts of money. It's like, nah, man, this is my book. It's part of my collection. Like,
yeah. Well, it's the Monsters Arcanum and Tarmacon, dude. Like, those two books, because they're such nice quality. They're massive. Like, they're literally the highest quality books that were ever made for fantasy.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
They sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I see them more or less through reseller websites for like £200-300. It's like, fuck, man, that's like, I understand because the book is so good and the Tamacon story is actually really good.
Oh, it's great.
But like people just like they go insane with it, and I understand why, because obviously these are rare things and a lot of people have become collectors because of Total War. But like it's like, damn, man, like if GW decided to just like do like what they did with the Realms of Chaos book, right? The one with the Nurgle with the Gate and Clean one at the front. If it just decided to reprint, they would make a stupid amount of money, and the fact that they haven't done this yet proves that they're fucking stupid.
Well, they just hate money.
Yeah.
For some reason. Yeah. Anyway, we are past time. And so it's time for us to go.
Yeah.
Especially because I've got a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay session here in a little bit.
Nice.
And hopefully everyone had fun. Today was a good day. I will say this hint. I'll say this hint for next week, and I'm just going to leave everyone in horrible suspense. I have found deep, genuine proof from something Games Workshop did very, very recently. I, honest to God, think they're releasing Fishmen.
You are just going to like not stop with that, aren't you?
No, I legit I was doing something. Oh, I can't say what it was yet, but I was doing something, and like it's literally like a full thing about this mysterious, horrifying race of fishmen creatures, and I was like, oh.
I have
a feeling. Wait till next week to find out what it is.
There is definitely someone at GW just writing like Sotek really wants fishmen. Let's just like tease him more. Let's see how much we can.
Some asshole with an edging fetish that's like, I'm just gonna see how close I can get him without ever giving it to him. So that's gonna be it for today's show. Yeah. Nathan, you got anything big coming up you want people to know about?
Yeah, two things. First up, for those interested in the new rule set, my community's been dealing with Warhammer Fantasy Crusade, just their own take on Warhammer Fantasy and Crusade, to make it quite fun. It's been quite interesting watching them play. Really, really nice, to be honest. Like, just contact Rowan the Accused. He's the one who wrote the rules. It's pretty good. I'll send you the PDF later so you can check it out because you might really like it, man.
Yeah, I'd love to take a look.
Yeah, and
maybe we could talk about that next time. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. And other than that, I'm just streaming a lot more on Twitch. I just finished Dying Light 2, which was really, really fun. Great story.
Oh, you finished it already?
Yeah, okay, dude. 7 sessions, 8 sessions, 6 hours each because I just got really immersed into it.
Damn. All right. Yeah, you're really hitting that Twitch game hard.
It was so good, man.
There you go.
Some of the side quests were just like really sad, but like well written. Like you would definitely love that game.
Well, a game about a zombie apocalypse is sad?
No. I mean like genuine heartstrings. It was great. But yeah, I'm streaming a lot more on Twitch TV / The Great Book of Grudges. I'll probably be doing something tonight too because I put a little poll up and I kind of just want to stream a bit more. Mordheim will be coming back on the channel for that on Monday.
Good choice.
I missed that game so much, man. I missed that
Great game. I will never forgive them for abandoning us for a piece of shit like Necromunda.
Dude, they abandoned that too. They abandoned that too.
I know, but at least our piece of shit was actually fun.
Yeah. But
how dare they abandon us?
Give me a quick sec. I'm just gonna link my Twitch on my chat because like I don't promote it enough on YouTube because YouTube has this weird thing about like killing off your viewership if you put a Twitch link.
Really? That's hilarious.
It literally stops.
www.twitch.tv/The Great Book of Grudges.
Yeah.
Go follow if you haven't already. How dare you?
And what are you up to then?
The things on the channel, I've got some theory videos that are nearly done.
Nice.
I've been working on one really big thing that's going to be the start of like an overarching theory. My health has been getting very much in the way of it because I was doing a lot of writing and stuff, and then it started making me sick. So I'm trying to get to I'm trying to find that balance of like figuring out how long I can like work and do research and stuff without pushing myself too hard.
Yeah.
Because I'm really trying to get this ulcer to finish healing.
Yeah.
And it's just driving me nuts.
You feeling better?
I have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
The good news is I did finally find an ENT that accepts my insurance, so that's nice.
Yeah,
so I should be getting that scheduled this upcoming week. I don't know when I'm going to get to see him, but hopefully soon. And I can get some stuff checked out and hopefully be on the road to recovery. But yeah, it's definitely been a long few months.
Yeah, can imagine.
But that's how it goes. In any event, thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you all had fun and are enjoying Lorebeards and everything. We'll see y'all next week. And until then, take care of yourselves, be safe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
All right, I'm going to go do a raid. Nathan, good to see you, my dude. We will talk later.
See you soon. Bye.